In the beginning. How do you say? How do you do it?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. In the beginning. So I am Chloe Zhao. I am the co-writer and director of Eternals.
I'm Steph Seretti. I'm the visual effects supervisor for Eternals.
I'm Morten Larsen. I'm the additional visual effects supervisor for Eternals.
Who can read this in an awesome Swedish accent?
Yes.
Do one, come on, in the beginning.
Until an unnatural species of predator emerged from deep space to feed on intelligent life, they were known as deviants.
Nice. Well, we always wanted to, personally, I love the idea of opening the film just with this information. It's very Star Wars, like that. Settling the audience in. And one of my favorite shots in the movie.
Is it?
I think so. When we were trying to figure out how to open the film, the song has a lot of meaning, for the story. I was actually reading the 3001 Final Odyssey, and there's a lot of imageries describe a monolith in space. So that was Arishem. Steph.
Yeah, we meet Arishem, and we had a pretty nice sculpture did by our department. We added a little bit to it. And that's the Domo.
Yeah, the Domo design, we really, Eve Stewart, our production designer, we wanted to feel like this is a place of worship, because Arishem is their god. So the design of the dome, we look at churches, we look at worship space from all over the world and design it that way. And these cuneiform symbols we've taken from Kirby, a lot of Kirby design, and try to incorporate that in there.
Yeah, and that's something that inspired us for everything in the film, really, especially for their powers.
Yeah.
And the way they get the energy and their suits.
And it's important from the very beginning, we see that their energy all come from this source. There's a thing that unify them, is this golden energy. And now we're in the real world.
Yeah.
Hey, who is in that helicopter?
I think this is Josh, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Josh? Yeah, Josh was in there.
Josh is Josh Richards, our camera operator.
We shot that in a very early morning in the Canary Islands.
Canary Islands, yeah. We lost our location, actually. We had a different location that was not by the ocean.
Correct.
And this is what happens when you something bad happens on your film set. It always turns out to be a blessing in disguise. And we ended up in this location, which is so much better. The deviants is like the monsters from the depths of the ocean. And then you have the angels and demons analogy here. So that was cool. Well, Steph, that looks great, Steph.
Yeah. Yeah, ILM was in charge of the deviants for this sequence, Industrial Light and Magic in London, and they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Also with Makari.
Steph, talk a little bit about the shooting on location for this, and then how you guys...
Well, I mean, you really insisted on trying to shoot as much as possible on location, which I think was actually really good. Like, that would give the scale to the film, and we can see that here. I mean, being on that cliff in the middle of the ocean, that's something you can invent in a studio, obviously. So that was really, it made it harder to some degree, being with natural light all the time and having to deal with the elements. But it made a lot of the stuff that we were doing actually more interesting. That was a big sequence with our Eternals fighting the first time and trying to introduce their powers here, giving them all a bit of time, and that's all our fighters that we see.
Yeah, and the to sort of create these deviants to sit into the world, like some of the things you guys did doing visual effects review was a lot for me to learn, actually.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because you really tried to push the colors on them, and it makes it harder actually for us to make it sit in the world that we had. But we had to find tricks, and it was really challenging to try and get them to really feel like they were there. But I think in the end it worked really well. So we used a lot of tricks, when they walk on the ground, having their interaction with the floor and everything. And we introduced our domo here, seen from outside that we've seen in space, and all our new the other group of Eternals that come down,
Thinker.
the Thinkers.
Yeah, the way they use the way you use dust, for example, just how to have these
Yeah.
deviants. Sometimes I'm like, too much dust, too little dust.
Too much dust.
The
Yeah.
discussion of dust and wind.
Yeah, it was important though.
Mm-hmm.
It was important because we had to find that right balance between, making sure that everything we're putting in the place was interacting with the environment, but not overtaking everything at the same time.
Yeah.
I remember when we shot that there was so much wind. Remember, we had to put trucks on the side to stop the wind from blowing up our Eternals.
This location was so windy.
It
Yeah.
was.
There's not a single wind machine. It's all in camera.
No. Yes. We were sandblasted on a daily basis.
Yeah, totally. And it's that lineup was actually inspired by one of the Kirby covers, one of the issues that had Eternals on a triangle lineup.
Yeah.
Symbols like circles, triangles. We talk a lot from sacred symbols from around the world. And that knife, that's actually Sumerian, one of the oldest
Yes.
artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the importance of lighting for you, and shooting the right thing at the right time of the day. And that shot was really, even though it doesn't quite cut with the rest, it's the moment is so important. It becomes
Yeah.
something special.
Yeah.
And you really were pushing every time, every day to make sure you would get your moment at the right time of the day and the right light.
Well, I'll say it. I don't believe in weather continuity.
Yeah, but it's true. You told us that so many times.
I don't. Especially, there's a quote, Morten. If Pink Floyd is playing, continuity doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, London. That billboard.
We shot that pretty guerrilla style, right? On the
Yeah,
day,
but-
like just.
I feel, did we steal that? Like, we just showed up and there was 5 people.
Yes. Kind of did.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Natural History
Natural
Museum.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a nice deleted scene from this location.
I know I'm late, Charlie.
That was a cool place to be when it wasn't crowded. Kind of special.
Yeah.
Because it's always so
Early
crowded.
morning.
Yeah.
Amid the measureless grossness and the
Oh my
slabs
God, this was a lot of fun for me because I've never been on a gimbal. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a shaker. It
Yeah,
was
the
more
whole
like a
damn
shaker.
classroom was built on top of that, and then the kids loved it. They're like, when the earthquake happened later, they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
museum scientist, Miss
Yeah.
Cersei, the person who
It was strong. Like, we remember we were in there on the corner and it was like,
Oh, our operator Josh, he
Scary.
couldn't. He's like, I have never not been able to control my body like this before. But that was interesting. This, what I think we try to set this message here in this scene. Is if we had more time, I'd love to be able to explore that even more. The idea of apex predators. That our deviants are very much inspired by the idea of all the apex predators that we have eliminated throughout time, so that humanity can flourish, right? And then the moral debate of if that's we have the right to do that. So having Cersei talk about apex predator here is actually a reference later to the deviants, and
there's a deviant on that table.
there's a there you go. And there's our
Oh, yeah.
It helps so much. All the reactions
Real-
are genuine.
yeah.
Everyone moves
Yes.
together.
exactly, yeah.
I know we talked a lot about should we do it or not. We were like, the kids are gonna need to have that physicality too.
Exactly.
Set it. So
I was like, please do me a favor. Like, don't make me try to get the kids to act like there's an earthquake. Shake the
Yeah.
building. That was fun.
And that's the first time we see Cersei using her powers here,
In the present day,
saving
yeah.
a kid. Yes.
Oh my God, I love directing Doggy. This dog. When were you there, Steph? I forgot.
No, I was there.
Yeah.
We had to change the dog was so happy wagging his tail, so we had to take that out in post.
Oh yeah.
Yes. We had to stop the motion of his tail. He was so happy being there and eating a
dog.
pizza.
He was like, deviant, happy. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
But we introduced Crow there in the
yeah, it's
in the
really
water.
cool.
Just,
I think it was like, was that the big B, what's it called? The reference I gave you?
You've had too much.
You gave us something from Apocalypse Now. Remember that shot?
Yeah, but also the, is it the big giant robot thing? The BIG? No, not BIG. BG.
BFG.
BFG. You know how it comes out the
BFG,
cartoon
yeah.
where he comes out of the water?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we missed Sprite changing into.
We did.
Yeah.
That was the first time we see her doing her, illusions really.
You had the actress that played her walk into the spot, and then we filmed
Yes.
Sprite, filmed both,
Yeah.
and then you,
Yeah.
yeah, clean
We
plate.
kind of did the clean plate.
Clean
and
plate.
Then off we go.
Be-
Clean plate all the time.
Because the film is.
Maybe we need to explain.
Yeah, you
I
should
don't know.
tell them what clean plate is, because we're gonna joke.
Well,
about it.
it's really not that exciting. It's just every time we shoot a shot, we shoot a clean plate so that we can do, if we need to clean something out or reshoot something or whatever, we have the element. We do that for all the entire film.
Yeah, so after the last take, they come in and shoot a take without anything in it. So it actually looks like a lovely POV shot, so you could be used potentially.
Yes.
I might have used that at
Yes.
some point.
You might have used a few.
Yeah. And,
It
and
always
Magic
happens.
Hour clean plate drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always regret it
We
later.
gotta move. Yeah, we gotta move.
And then later in visual effects review, I'm like, do we have a clean plate of that? Steph said, nope.
Yes.
You said nope. All
We always
right.
figure it out.
So,
we're in
Camden.
Camden now.
Camden's great. There's so much texture.
Yes.
I give a shout out to Josh because he was like this used to be his old stomping ground, and he was like, they always go to those fancy places. You guys should try Camden. It's more rustic.
Yeah. The textures are so interesting and the lighting too.
This
It was
is
a big
cool.
lighting setup for Ben Davis, our DP on
Oh
there.
my God! Yeah.
Yeah, it's so huge, and they had to run all around. And we shot at night in winter, it wasn't too cold actually. We're lucky.
Yeah. No, I mean usually like Ben is able to just he's so quick, show up. Everything is pretty much done. And
Yeah.
Ben knew that I wanted to shoot. The camera is always moving, it's always looking for things. So he knew that he can't put big stands and cranes. And so from the very beginning, Ben had that conversation with his crew, kept them sort of off the set as well, because usually it's a huge crew, and then always kept the lighting on above so that we could move.
Yeah.
That was interesting for us
It's very
too.
natural using the environment.
Trying to put hide witness cameras with these wide lenses and the camera looking around was always a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean the
Yeah.
entire team sort of compromised for this way of shooting,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm eternally grateful
Oh,
for.
this was
This
an
is
interesting
cool.
setup.
Here we go. That was difficult. That was multiple passes. We shot motion control for some of
Yeah.
the multiples we have here. We have digital doubles in the back. It's a combination of different things, and
Josh shot
it was pretty
the
involved.
original photography with the Ronin, and then we tracked it, and then
Yes.
did motion control passes on a stage later.
Yeah.
Very,
and then,
very cool.
And then added CG people.
Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember being
Yeah.
there, just kind of like making it up as we go in the moves. I say, now Crow is here. Now there's many of you. Our actors
Yes.
did a great job just going with it. And
Yeah.
and Steph that's standing next to me, I always just look at him and like, you think that's okay? He's like, yeah, that will work. That will work.
Yeah.
There's nothing
when
there.
It's not gonna work. You hear me when it's not gonna work.
Yeah, Steph will tell me. But there's nothing there, right? So it was just,
No.
yeah. I'm
Well, we had a guy. We had a stunt double. You remember that was
Oh, yeah.
a little bit on his all four. Yeah, he was using canes to work.
not in
to
Camden.
walk around.
though.
It was.
In Camden, we were pretty
we
much.
had him in Camden
A little
for
bit?
a shot or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean.
Because we
you know.
shot this at the end. I have to say, we're very proud of this sequence because we've learned a lot. That we shot. This is one of our last thing we shot, so we knew by then.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, we had done a lot. We had done other sequences that were even more crazy. So
Yes,
we're
This is
doing pretty
cool.
good there.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was a huge simulation of all these pedals and, the rain of pedals. We had a few real pedals on the floor in the end, but we had to add so much more.
This one is great. Scanline did
Yeah.
a good job of him climbing out. There's not a single
Yeah.
pedal. It's
Wow.
really
There was a few pedals on the floor, but barely anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that guy is a real bus driver
Yeah.
from London.
He was
Yeah.
confused what was happening. It was awesome.
Yes. It was great.
It was so
which was
good.
perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And
Yeah.
Pocahontas very early on was a reference for me for Cersei and love of nature, love of humanity. So when she turns things, I love the idea. She's now turning things into like ping pong balls. It's always something beautiful, something
Yeah.
natural.
And we have Crow here, our bad guy. I don't know if we can say
Yeah,
that.
you
He's
can.
not really a
He's
bad
villain.
guy.
He's
just
complicated
He's
villain.
a deviant.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the first time we see him fighting all these guys, and we see Icarus saving the day,
Yep.
meeting Dane.
coming in.
Meeting Dane.
And Dane.
Hello, Dane. We love comedy Dane.
Oh, he's
Okay. He has
He's
there's so
perfect.
many comedic moments. He's like, comedy Dane's here. Let's do this. Also, Icarus's beams look so good, guys. You guys did so awesome
Oh,
with that.
thank you.
Yeah.
From a planet called Olympia.
Also, even like, in terms of sound design here, really give a shout out to Alison Teague. We wanted to make sure we separate Icarus with Superman as much as possible, and Superman has heat vision, and this is more of an energy blast. So in creating the sound for his I-beams, Edison focused more on the power, sound of power and impact and pressure. So it has a very unique sound, I thought.
Yeah. There's a metallic quality to it, which kind of, because it's made of gold too, which
Yeah.
I like it, that it kind of ties with the visuals.
Feels
as well, which is
elemental.
interesting.
Like we wanted all their powers, even from the opening scene when you see the little sphere coming out of Ajax chest, going to Ajax chest, and there's like a humming sound, and Sprite's
Yeah.
Illusions has certain, like there's a water element to it. We always use sound from different type of sacred worship, like a Tibetan singing bowl, or some kind. Even Druid is mind controlling, is more like a whisper, a chant. So Addison took all these different type of worship, sound of worship, to create the Eternal's power sound. Pretty awesome,
That's pretty cool.
especially the thinkers.
In the 5th century
Yes.
BC. How long were you two?
Laundromat, gotta have a laundromat scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Wong Kar-wai. Shout out to Wong Kar-wai.
Yes. Yes. It is very Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah.
In visual effects, we thought we saw green screens in all these shots and we wanted to take them out.
Yes. Everybody was like, why do we keep green screens in the shots? No, it's just a laundromat.
Yeah, no, yeah. Ben, I love how this thing is lit. With Ben and I look at, for London, we looked at a lot of Wong Kar-wai stuff like Happy Together and Chungking Express. Just wanted to have colors, shadows, colors.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Fish tank,
Very much fish tank.
Yes.
And the green
Shut-
birds.
fish tank, yeah, you gotta have a purple fish tank. Shout out to Chungking Express.
There's the Babylon Wall.
There's a Babylon.
It was coming
Yeah.
after us instead of humans. What's going on?
Well, we also need to talk about music for a second because the score in this film is epic. Ramin and I earlier on talked about, because you have so many elements, 7,000 years, 10 characters, space, and all that stuff. We wanted to create themes that can connect, and he does such a great job, say in Game of Thrones. When there's a theme that you remember, and it can be played throughout different time and different situations, but they always evoke a feeling, of familiarity. And that these themes helps to, instead of giving each character their own themes, we have themes of memory, themes of love, themes of mission, and having those play out through the film. And the hero theme, the Eternals theme you hear at the beginning of the film, during the Mesopotamia fight sequence, we even thought about, so the Avengers theme is the ultimate present day, superhero theme. If we backtrack that 7,000 years, is there a version that could evoke that feeling but also feels ancient? That was fun to play with. This is a big shot for you guys to do.
Yes.
This is all shot in LA, actually. The opening.
That
in the
part,
quarry, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
close to Simi Valley
Yeah.
until we get up to the gate.
Yeah, up until.
Yeah,
what is,
and
this is still there.
soon. Yeah, still there. And then if we go
This is
to
downtown LA?
Still, this is downtown LA.
This is downtown
This is
LA.
downtown LA. And
now
this.
we're-
And this is the Canary Islands.
Yay!
Hey!
I think it blends really seamlessly. You guys did such a.
It's
incredible
okay,
job.
yeah.
I love this fight scene. It's so great.
Shout out to
That
Dan
was
DeLu,
fun.
our second unit director. You guys had a good
Yes.
time on this one. didn't you?
Yeah, he did a
Yeah.
great job. This was fun to work on.
We built a gate. We built some wall and a gate in the Canaries. I'm surprised how Eve got that thing stand there with the wind.
That's right.
I know. It was
a big structure.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we also built the
And the
huts
village.
in the village. Yeah.
Yeah, the village was there. It was all our Babylon in that valley that we had. And then Ilem was in charge of that battle.
That's
there was the
beautiful.
Deviant.
Yeah.
It was an
And
interesting
also
one to
creating
shoot.
all of Babylon.
Look at that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's been such a geek out moment to recreate Babylon. The Deviant, all the color, the detailed color that's on the Deviant, the iridescent thing. Earlier on, Steph, we looked at
Yeah.
beetles. Like
That was very important for you too.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at insects, with their iridescent nature, and we wanted to. They're kind of metallic and iridescent, and it was really, really interesting and challenging at times to get them to land in our world. But it paid off, I think.
we didn't want them just to be like dark, monsters. We wanted them
Yes.
to feel beautiful
Yeah.
as well because they're a creature of
Yeah.
God as well. Speaking of God, here
Here
we
it
are.
is.
Here he is. I mean, you guys just did the most incredible job on anything that's in this vision world. With Arsham, we call it the World Forge. When we say the World Forge, we
Yeah.
mean when they go in to communicate with the Celestials. Just the scale and the details on Arasham, the elemental feeling. We look at
It's so
like
huge.
minerals, right? Like different type of rocks
Yeah.
and
We looked at rocks, we looked at metal, we looked at mines in Russia that for the eyes that have this kind of
Yes.
like very. If you look at that, if you look at mines in Russia, you're gonna find that. And really establishing the scale.
you mean the aerial shot of like a mine that goes all the way to
and
the ground.
I showed you that a long time and said this is giving us so much scale, so we would try to replicate that in the
so
design of
cool.
the eyes. And Skyline did the design for all these guys.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
They did a really good job, I have to say, Scanline. Like, they did the texture and feel of Arisham's
Yes.
face.
Yes.
Looked great.
And we also
was
talked
so
about having it's almost like a gigantic whale under the ocean that exists for so long that there's all these things attached to its surface, these textures.
Yes. Yeah, and that these meteorites and asteroids that are kind of floating with him as he goes. That gives us a huge sense of scale, and he's almost creating his own gravity like a planet. So
Yes.
it was really trying to get that scale in there.
And I just want to mention that we almost 99% of the time when we do visual effects review for like 2 years, we always look at it on the big screen. And to have the effort to go in there to create all these details is because we were making it for the big screen.
Yeah. Even though we were in a pandemic trying to do it. And all working from home, but we would get you in the big screen so that you could
Exactly.
see everything.
Yeah. So this was fun. That Fastos got this forge that he does all kinds of fun stuff. Again, it's about having limitations, meaning like the language of the Eternals' powers, all of the, whether they're thinkers or fighters, we want to make sure they're all coming from the same source. Because you could do whatever you want with him, you know. But for us, actually having a limitation, say we can only work. They have to be gold, and they have to feel like something is coming from an energy, same source.
Yeah.
And that forced you to be creative in different ways.
Yeah, and unifying the look of everything so that we feel like it's sourced from the same exact energy. And it's very important. It's a theme, visual theme we have throughout the film, actually. And you were really insisting on that at the beginning, and especially for Sprite's illusions, all these stories. She's inventing cinema at that point.
That's true. This
she
is
has an
a
audience,
tribute, to the storytelling.
It is. It's visual storytelling, and that's what we're doing. So, I really loved working on these effects for Sprite because it's coming back to the source of cinema,
Yes.
visual storytelling.
We look at this book *Sapiens* that talked about how what made us become who we are today is because we believe things that doesn't exist, things like heroes and money and governments, things that is sort of an agreement, storytelling. And Sprite, it's fun to position Sprite to be the person that says, hey, you can be heroes if you get together and then, it's
Work together.
work
assemble.
together, assemble.
Assemble.
But I have to give it really, for you guys to have the discipline to work within these narrative limitations that are set, and then to play as much as possible within that. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
It's much easier to just grab the first idea that seemed cool, as opposed to having that discipline.
Yeah. I think that was an important moment for Makari there, and her using sign language to talk with Jurek. I love their relationship in the film. They're so cute together, and you see it building throughout these moments.
I love the film has many different type of way of communicating. Like even within the scene, we have American Sign Language, and we have Jurek interpreting that into Babylonian, and then there's English subtitle, and then there's people speaking Babylonian with English subtitle. Just a lot going on. It's great.
There's a mind control to that.
I had mind control.
Yes. What's the language of mind control?
Yeah. Oh, there's that whisper that Addison created. Yeah.
Yes. That's
exactly.
I can feel it.
Oh, yeah. This was shot on stage in Pinewood Studios,
In London.
London. And now we enter the world of Terrence Malick. We have our whole, I think, creative team have watched a couple of Malick movies like Tree of Life and New World over and over, and shooting in Magic Hour, and just again like letting the camera linger and try to capture real moments that I didn't plan. It's always been a strong desire for me to incorporate these moments into a film where 5 minutes later someone will shoot laser beams out of their eyes. And to have the audience believe that these characters, these fantastical characters, actually truly walked the earth for 7,000 years. And using wide-angle lens, deep focus, allowing the audience to discover within the frame what else beyond our character exists. And then come to a conclusion about their relationship with the space they're in.
Building their attachment to the Earth, to the planet they're living on for so long.
Yeah.
Which is important, towards the end of the film.
Exactly. It's a feeling the audience has to have. It can't just be things they say. I love humanity. I don't think Cersei's ever said that in the film. You have to feel it, and that's what Terry Malick does so well with his cinema. It makes you feel that their characters are part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And they fall in love.
Which is why I think it was so good to go on location. And this location was beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
And,
yeah.
and it is a character in the movie. The locations are a character in the movie for me. They're part of the ensemble. You know.
Earth is this planet.
Yes. Yeah. It was great for us to work with that, these backgrounds and add whatever we had to add to it.
Yeah, and we should give a shout out to Kevin Delanoy and Carl and all the location teams who went out there and found these incredible locations for us. You guys put Babylon in all the shots in the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all these fields that way because we built a little bit of the field,
Yeah.
but we had to extend all
Oh,
of that, you know, and try to make it as natural as possible, and
Yes.
and you know, sell the idea that it was the very first civilization that started to do crops, and so that was important. Ooh,
Beautiful.
I'll let you talk about that.
Well, you know, you can't fall in love without falling in love, you know? I think, again, this is a prop to German Richard. This is magic hour hustle. This light is really, you know, we call it God's light. This is the last 20 minutes. You've got 20 minutes, that's it. So I love this thing so much. Hey, this is
India.
Is it full CG?
It's full CG, even the
Look
horses.
at
I
that.
mean, we shot something, but you know, we went to India. We did send our guys, our friends from Skyline to India, and they textured and took pictures of everything, and came up with you know, some beautiful renders.
Yeah.
That was
We
that was
want
really
to
well done.
give a shout out to Samsara. We really we
Yes.
watched Samsara, and again this anthropological approach to filmmaking. You know,
Yeah.
one thing that I remember Kevin said from one of our earlier meetings. He said, "Wouldn't it be great if kids watch this movie and then they're like become more interested in history?" And or maybe want to be an astronaut. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
really want to look at space. We look at all NASA photos, and on Earth we look at like beautiful
Yeah.
documentary films like Samsara.
Hello?
And travel the world. There's so
Travel
much
the
to
world.
see.
We say a National Geographic approach.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a
that
lot
was
of
your
That's
was your
my
constant thing.
my T-shirt. National Geographic. There's a couple of T-shirts Morgan's gonna make with this quotes. This was built.
So we're in South Dakota.
I had South Dakota in all my movies, so I was really like, I geeked out. I was like, can I please have South Dakota? And obviously we couldn't travel there. So this was the one place in the UK that kind of looked like South Dakota. It was a military base, wasn't it?
Yeah. A
Yes,
training
yeah.
field of some sort.
Yeah.
Salisbury Fields or
Salisbury
something like
Field.
that.
We
You built the house.
We built the house.
Yeah.
You know, this corral is recreated exactly like Brady Jandrew's corral in The Rider. I think I gave you the picture.
Yes.
Gave Eve the picture.
Yeah.
She just recreated it.
Yeah, she did it like exactly
Yeah.
to specs.
Yeah.
It's an homage.
It's an homage. Yeah. Well, I can't do homage to your own movies. It's a reference. So this is I love this. I love what you guys did with her disappearing.
Yeah, very subtle. It was the last day of shoot for Leah, I remember. That was our last scene. Very emotional.
Yeah. She brought so much to this. Like she's so young, you know, but she's so mature. She's like Spry in real life. She's got a really mature person, complicated young woman in a child's body.
Jack never stopped trying to take care of us.
Yeah, I think she was the perfect person to do that.
So that texture on Ajax's face was interesting. We talked about what do they look like when they die.
They die. Yeah, you were always saying, oh, maybe they go back to the, you know, something that's close to the domo texture, like that stone, green, dark
Yeah.
stone, and some of the cracks that we have seen. That actually the domo, the inspiration for the walls of the domo came from one of our scouts in the Canary Islands.
Yes.
Where we went into that cave, and there was these kind of walls, and these golden lines inside the rocks that were so specific, and you took pictures of them, and you were like, oh my God, I want this to
Yeah.
be the domo, and we kind of integrated some of that in there too.
Yeah, we always try to look at the earth around us, the nature around us for inspiration. You know, because again, to see the world in a grain of sand, right? Like that whole idea of the endless beauty of the cosmos can be found in the tiniest thing on earth.
Yeah. Which was in your pitch, in your initial
Yeah.
pitch that you did to Kevin, right? I remember seeing the document, and you
Yeah.
had that, microscopic image of
Sand.
grains of sands, and that was your
Yeah.
and the color of it and the richness of the colors and all that stuff. That was something that you wanted to carry on.
It's so ordinary to see that on the beach, but if you really look as close as possible, you got the cosmos in one grain of sand.
Yes.
And we try to capture that in this film, the grand and the intimate. And the mad weary. Mad weary.
I think
Yeah,
everyone said
very.
that differently.
Wow, this is full CG, isn't it? That shot, that one
Yeah,
shot
it is, yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
And this
Yeah,
one
and then we had
This
Yeah.
was a big setup. This was fun to
Big setup.
shoot. A lot of complicated choreography, but it came out really nice.
yeah, this is a wonder that was very close to our heart, and we built this in a park in England, right?
Yeah,
it was in Black Park at the
Black
back
Park.
of Pinewood in
Yeah.
in London. This was there too in the same forest.
And you guys did an extension on all the pyramids
Yes, yeah.
and stuff.
Yes.
Deviants than you said.
And flames and all that stuff, and
It was.
digital armies in the wide shots.
That wide shot is incredible. It's really
Looks
hard
cool,
to
right?
think it's full CG. You know, some of those full CG wide shots are out of this world.
yeah. This was all Weta here. They did a good job on this sequence.
Yeah,
Oh, this is what up?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
it's Weta. Yeah,
So this is the sequence
they did
where
all that sequence.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
all of
is
it.
where Thena has this illness called Mawiri, and where she can't quite tell who is her friend, who is her enemy. It's almost it's almost like PTSD. It's something happened in her past that making her something trigger her going to violence, and you find out in the movie what that terrible thing that happened to her is. Her eyes. That was an interesting one to explore as well.
Yeah, we did a lot of, options with the eyes, and that's where we landed in.
You can
And
still
and
see. Yeah, go.
yeah, and Angelina did all these fights choreography at night. It was pretty rough shooting there, and
It was
she
cold.
did all that stuff really well. It was cold.
It was raining. It's 3 in the morning. Those were tough. Night shoots out there was tough on location. It would have been easier. It would have been quote unquote easier to do this on the stage, but there was a level of the actors feel it too.
Absolutely.
Being out there.
This fight is great too. I think it's one of my favorite Thena fights. There's so much energy
Yeah.
in here, and you see the bright weapons in the night just flash around.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and very.
She's
high
very
energy.
fierce there, and it's very interesting. And she did most of it really.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was really game for that.
And Dong as well. He's such a big action star in Korea. So he was really able to. He took a lot of hits, and he's such a pro. Because it's all about he's now fighting back in this. He's taking hits from Thena.
Yes. Yeah.
She okay? Cersei.
They have such good chemistry in the
They
film.
do.
It's really,
Yeah. No,
really
it's.
good.
I remember Angelina said that it's so refreshing also to see a strong woman leaning on a strong man as a partnership. They don't have to put a man down to be strong. That they have this respect for each other. And I think Angie and Dong has that in real life for each other. It really translated on screen. Temple Top.
It is, yeah. It is pure love from between the two of them. It's really pure love. It's like at the same level, and they respect each other, and they take care of each other, and
Yes.
I really like that.
See that behind Kingo? That is from the Kirby run. That's one we really, really want. It's a very well-known image of the Eternals. Temple of Gods, maybe? I forgot what it was called, but
yeah.
we really wanted to put that up here. That was a fun one to see come to life.
nice Easter egg.
Eve did an incredible job of like taking some Easter eggs, like taking images from the Kirby's design, and then also marrying that into the real Aztec design and mixing them together seamlessly.
It's cool to see all the colors too, because you're not used to seeing that when you see old Aztec stuff,
Yeah.
like runes. But this is really neat.
We had
That's actually very important, yeah. When we do old civilization, we always tend to make them like colorless, but actually they were
Yeah.
really colorful.
Yeah.
Babylon was really colorful, and Aztecs were really colorful too.
We had a costume as well, you know, with Sammy Shelton and Eve, our production designer. We had set some limitations for color palettes. Like for the older the civilization is, the more prime color it is. So in Babylon, we stick to red, yellow, blue, you know, black, brown, you know, colors like that. And then for Gupta, we're starting to go into areas of like pink, turquoise, and same is here. And in modern day, you know, there's just every color you can think of. And then the colors actually somewhat more muted, because in modern day,
Correct.
it's more they need to fit in these Eternals, except
Yes.
Kingo.
Yeah. Yeah. It fits in India.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
India is very colorful still, which is great.
Oh, this is lovely. I think.
It's a big key moment in the film. It's like when they split out, really. It's
Well, it's the first time that someone in the family questioned the purpose of their mission. Questioned that if helping humanity advance at all costs, whether that is a moral thing or not. Everything from killing off all the predators to destroying civilizations, mining the earth, you know, to the advance. And Jurek is the one that's asking this question here. That moment of mind control is one thing that both Skywalker and our Laura and Juan the Skywalker and Addison, our sound designer, did and Ramin, you know. So in the music, there is organ, there is choir, there's strings, and then there's these voices and tones in the design of the power, and all these things sit at different frequency. So they don't actually cancel each other out. So there's a fullness. And then if you go to Dolby Atmos mix, you feel all these very immersively. Just they did an incredible job.
Take their chance.
That's great.
Yeah.
Salma.
We also with the costume, where we wanted to make sure that that everyone's color theme remained. You know, so there's something about them that it hasn't changed. So it was fun to see how they can incorporate. Sammy did a great job making many, you know, throughout history, different costumes, keeping them within their color theme.
This is where we say goodbye.
Yeah, it's very successful because it keeps them in character throughout, but there's these variations that you see across the ages, and it's very interesting to see the styles evolving, but the color palette staying, you know, consistent.
It's the same thing I said earlier about limitation. When you have a film that has so many characters, so many different set pieces, you have to set limitations for yourself so audiences can actually hold on to something. Those color on the costume, and also say the themes that Ramin created. These are things for the audience to grab on.
Speaking of color, this is one of my favorite scenes, I think. It's so great.
Yes.
Look, Captain
so
America's
fun.
shield.
Yeah.
Yay! This
It's here.
It's here. I'm so excited
Yes.
that we did the shield. Yeah, this is epic. Kumail, oh, I love him.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Chloe, you know, I can't dance. I was like, well, we'll see. It was probably one of the most moving things that I've seen because everyone was so dedicated. The choreographer, the whole team, you know, they even they came up with a song as well. And then they recorded the lyrics, they recorded the song with an artist, and the way they just rallied around Kumail and supported him. And it, you know, it was a joy to work with this team.
He did amazing. I think he was terrified.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yes.
see it. It's
No.
just so great.
It's such a cool moment too. You wouldn't expect to see this in a Marvel movie, and it's so
Yeah.
cool to see.
Another thing we talked about was like what's the color palette we wanted to use for this dancing, you know, and we actually wanted to do something very classic, so very gentle classic colors. So that was, you know, about this type of light pink and light yellow. Oh, and his costume was handmade in India by artists is incredible, and every little beat is like hand put together and
With the sparkly
with the
stuff.
spark- yeah. And that is actually a Kingo's version of Kingo's take on Icarus costume. If you look closely, because this is
Yes.
the legend of Icarus. He has the biggest man crush on Icarus. Doesn't turn out well in the end, but yeah,
Talk to you in private.
he's paying his tribute to his friend
I
here.
trust him completely. Actually, when we first met, he thought I was a vampire, and he tried to stake me through the heart.
And we introduced Karun as well.
Karun, the filmmaker.
Character. Yes.
Karun is so beloved. Oh, he's so great.
He's amazing.
I come in on a wire.
Yeah, and it was fun to shoot on a soundstage, as is a soundstage, wasn't it?
Yes. With blue screens, we didn't have to do anything.
Oh, wait, Steph, let's wait. Let's look at your
Yes.
cameo. It's coming up.
Oh, there's my cameo in there. You know, I do a cameo for every Marvel film I'm in.
Yes.
And you allowed me to do another one.
And this
So
one
what's-
is
oh my God.
significant because it's not just you. You're also holding the head of a deviant.
Yes.
I am.
Working in visual
I'm the
effects. even.
deviant.
Yeah, you are
I'm in
the.
my gray suit. Oh my, that was so embarrassing. The worst day of my life.
And then I was like, Steph, on set, my Steph. He's like, yes, I'm coming. And he's wearing a gray suit with
There we go.
There he comes. And there's a better
Oh my
shot
God.
later.
There's
The Shadow Warrior.
Just started shooting this.
the shadow. I love that one, that moment.
Yeah.
He has to do a cameo.
Yes.
Please don't say anything.
Oh, good times.
I just said don't say anything.
Yeah, Karun really brought so much heart to the film. You know, he's so great. And there's
Like
Steph,
Danny's
right
done.
there,
Oh,
holding
God.
a deviant's head.
This is my cameo.
Yeah.
Never watch it again. No, Karun brings that human element to it,
Totally.
which is so nice. You know,
Totally.
is their connection with humanity there, which
Yep.
throughout the film is working so well.
Yeah, and you know, Harish, he's just an actor who had so much experience, both in acting and in life as well. And you can feel it. There's a level of wisdom to him. He can be funny, and then he can be a sage, just like he can switch, just like that. Incredible.
I am making a documentary
Oh, and the documentary.
about us.
You're about to make
And all the cameras. I don't know how many they destroy through the movie, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's 3. I think 3, 4 cameras.
It's 3, yeah.
Yeah.
He starts off with pretty good equipment, and then he goes down and down. And
Got
down.
into like a flip cam in the end. Yeah.
Yes.
He keep destroying it. Yeah, I thought, you know, why not pay tribute to filmmaking? And in this film, everything from Bryce's storytelling to Karun trying to capture this, and Kingo is a movie star, so we had a couple of like his shout out to filmmakers in the film that you know, not everything made it, but one would make it to the deleted scene. And that's my little geek out moment. I got
Oh my
I got a scene from Star Wars in the TV in the back, so that was fun.
It's The Empire Strikes
It was
Back.
it was a moment where I said, "I love you." I know.
I know.
I know. This was fun to do the Icarus looking old on the phone.
Old, yeah. Which would never happen because he's
Never
an
happen.
eternal.
Yeah,
He will never
exactly.
grow old.
Exactly. Oh, these posters are awesome.
They're so good.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
you've showed me these. I just burst out laughing. These are amazing.
I'm part of the greatest dynasty in the
That set was crazy cool.
I love
actually.
the Kingo
With all the
Jet.
gold.
Yeah, the Kingo
Yes.
Jet was a great set.
Okay, I got
And I like that even his jet is his color.
Yeah. Yeah. With the K.
He's on brand. He's on brand.
page.
I thought we were friends.
Oh, I remember shooting this scene right before the Christmas break, and yeah, it was. There used to be there was a karaoke scene that unfortunately didn't make it into the film, but that was also really fun.
It was pretty fun.
You see in one of the trailers.
We should have
Yeah.
all stayed together.
No, and also, our Eternals are paired up in some ways. Kingo and Sprite, you know, Athena and Fastos. they have these arcs that they go through as well.
We shot that in Australia. No, we shot that in the Canary Islands.
The Canary Islands is really
Yeah.
great. You could just travel a couple hours, next thing you're in the rainforest, and then you're in
Yeah,
Australia.
it's a great sandbox.
The people there too, so great. They were so welcoming, so supportive. I loved filming there.
Yeah, you picked that location because of the color of the dirt that was really red. Just to make it look more like Australia.
Also, big shout out to Jill, our colorist at Company 3. We tried putting some grain on this, and which is really lovely to sort of round up the highlights and because I like shooting really sharp lenses with shot with very deep depths. So sometimes to sort of unifying the world and adding that grain is really lovely.
In Batman.
Gilgamesh, the deviants are back.
No shit. I could
Done. I just. Oh yeah, the apron.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh my God, the apron! We had to add that stuff on the apron.
Yeah, Kiss
it
the
was so
Cook.
funny.
That-
Kiss the cook.
That was not there initially.
No.
that was Luma. They did a really good job.
Yeah, look at that. You can't
Did it?
tell.
It's actually really tricky to do.
I bet.
Believe it or not.
Because it's moving the
yeah,
whole
with all
time.
the folds. Yeah, and it's folding and the light is changing constantly. So
Yeah.
they did a great job, and it's such a. I mean, that shows the how far we want to go for a joke. And establishing a character. It's just this kind of details.
He also showed that for CGI, like for visual effects, it goes everything as big, like a gigantic celestial, to a print on the apron, and sometimes audiences don't notice that. Like actually,
No.
the less they notice it, the better
Yeah.
your work is.
Absolutely.
And that
You're-
Kiss the Cook appears in a streaming series as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's in a episode.
You're like you're
Is
the
it in
shadow. You're the
WandaVision?
shadow warriors. You guys are like the shadow warriors. I just realized that. You have
We
to-
are.
This is. I like this moment.
Everyone in Centauri 6 is going to die.
In IMAX, we open up this moment when Sprite does this illusion.
Illusion.
Yeah, we shot this in 2 different locations. We shot it on the Domo and also on location.
That's a tricky
It
transition.
was tricky to make the light work between the two, but it worked. We really wanted for this illusion to go back to like celestial maps and
Yes.
see the constellations and old Greek kind of drawing. I mean, that was something that you talked about very early on too, and we tried to keep within that style, but animating them with that energy, golden lines, and it was really interesting to try and figure out what the best way to do it was, but I think it
Yeah.
paid off in the end.
You look at it sort of as astronomy, like drawings and symbols
Yes.
from like
Yeah.
sundials from the past.
Yes.
Basically working backwards, assuming that the Eternals and their powers and their lines has inspired humanity and how they create their inventions.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was our way of thinking, okay, well, who's the chicken, who's the egg? And,
Yeah.
it was the Eternals that inspired humanity throughout the ages.
And Sammy, again, Ryan Mannerding, who is a concept artist at Marvel, we spent a lot of time at the beginning asking ourselves, what does the Eternals costumes look like? What does their uniform look like? And we actually broken down to, let story guide us. Why are they here? Is it military? Is it missionary? Like, what's the reason they're here? Because if they're military, their costume would be very different, right? So we realize it's much more missionary. They're here as the missionaries of a celestial, and so so that's why the costume that feels a bit more, not the word religious, but the feel more ceremonial than just hard armor.
Yeah.
And because their costume doesn't really protect them, that's not. They're strong. It's not about the costume,
They have their powers even without the costumes.
Exactly.
They can fly without the Icarus can fly without the costume. It's really
ceremonial. You know, that's a
ceremonial, yeah.
an identity. You know, it's for us it's interesting because these Eternals are about to find out now that their identity was a lie. You know, so to have that color and that, you know, and that those symbols are very similar. You see in the Domo, you see in the Celestial, it's part of who they are, like that costume. And then they have to sort of shed that as they be with humans. But they don't lose the color. There's always a part of that stays with them. Another Magic Hour hustle scene. These drawings are great, actually. They're actually created by I think it's an assistant in the art department. He just started drawing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. It was magic there. I mean, we talk about Magic Hour, but this location was really beautiful in the end of the day.
The wind and all the dust really adds to it.
Yeah.
I remember Angie showed up the first day and she got to the tree, she looked around, she's like, how did we get here? We're so far. Yeah, I know, right? She just loved that location.
Remember a few days before when we came in, to go around the location, and there was a sandstorm, and everything was sandblasted. We couldn't even see 10 feet away from.
I mean, it was not easy on the crew. It's not easy on the cast. The sand was everywhere. Everyone take out their sunglasses. You have the panda eyes.
The marks, yes.
Yes.
You take a shower in the evening and it's all like red dirt coming off everywhere.
And they're really fun. And the cameras are freaking out too. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we're in this epic sequence. Steph, Martin, I bow down to you
Skyline
too.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Look at all the
establishing the
textures on
scale of the Celestial. Yeah.
And this is a tricky thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the design.
Well, there was so much also storytelling, in that moment that we had to connect. The editors did a great job trying to figure out what was the best way to tell the story there, and we really worked with them on that, trying to find the best way to tell it.
And this is really the opposite of what we just looked at. The beautiful location, and you get so much from the landscape. This is literally one actor on a blue stage, and the rest is made up.
At the same time, you guys really took the philosophy of how we want to make this film, even when you're doing these. The lenses are getting wider and wider, which is really great. At some point, I think that you guys probably deleted the longer lenses completely from your computer. And then, but everything still feels elemental, that they still feel, the word grounded is a dangerous word sometimes. People go, is that going to be boring when it's grounded? But I think what you guys managed to do is give this really grounded feeling and yet overwhelmingly fantastical at the same time. I think one thing that was really incredible what you guys did is that discipline of having that National Geographic approach even to the most, like a moment like this, the most dramatic moment is to keep the camera observational and allow the things that are incredible happen within the frame.
The end of one life.
Yeah, that was something you really pushed us to, to keep paying attention to. All that National Geographic feel and just, letting things happen in frame, not trying to be overwhelming with camera moves or anything.
It's so much harder for you guys because when the camera is just a simple, this is definitely something we borrow from Tree of Life for the creation sequence, and the camera is just doing a drift forward. So much harder for you guys because then you have to make what's in the frame entertaining, realistic, and captivating enough. There's no hiding. The camera just kept lingering. But the realism, the immersive experience you give the audience, that's not something cutting would be able to do. So it's huge, I think, really difficult challenge for you guys that we shoot this way.
Yeah.
Ajax knew the truth.
It did create challenges, these long shots, full CG shots with lots of simulation were very challenging, and Skyline did a great job on these. And, little details like her hair floating there, which, seems like kind of nothing, but it actually is CG hair rendered and simulated throughout the sequence.
Yeah.
Little things.
I mean, this sequence is, I mean, seeing again in 143 in IMAX when you first showed it to me. And also, you know, the design, everybody at Marvel, with you guys and with the producers and the artists, the design of all these things, you know, they have to have, they have to tell stories and they have to have a consistency to them all. And that took a long time. Yeah. Oh, Steph, this is your idea for the domo.
Yeah, that the World Forge was made out of domos, which kind of tells you the story that there's maybe more Eternals than we think there is. But they're all on a mission, and you have these openings that are domos that have left somewhere. And then we see all these ones, like, oh, there's plenty of them, potentially.
And then again, still playing on triangles and circles. Even the World Forge has this very kind of warship feeling.
Yes, and you know, as you said, you told us about, you know, very specific geometry, circles and triangles, all these things. That's what we're trying to play with all the time.
Yeah.
And it's all staying within that gold and green domo color scheme. It's really nice.
Yes. Well, I had fun storyboarding this one. I remember like the manga manga storyboard, but I find adding some color to it. Remember, we were adding some mushrooms and flowers and things attached to the ground to give it some texture.
Or fungus.
Or fungus. Oh my God, Century 6. Who wants to talk about Century 6?
Well, it was an idea that came in and out of the films many times. It was a difficult concept, just trying to tell the backstory of the Deviant and what they're doing and the Predators, because you know you introduced that idea in this classroom, and then this is our ultimate backstory of Deviants and how they're connected to the Eternals and everything. Yeah, Century 6 was was a bit of a challenge trying to find the right storytelling there, but it pretty much stayed the same throughout.
Yeah,
honestly.
I say so. Yeah. It was
cool.
It was the
That
last thing we shot,
Weta.
right? It was the last thing we shot as well.
Yeah.
Has chosen you to take her place as the Prime Eternal.
I love Arishem, and always finding ways to show scale.
Those look great in IMAX too, with the full height.
Yes.
That's really impressive.
And all these transitions that we had
Yeah.
to do between, you know, the Void and the real world, which were done by Scanline.
That was a challenge, trying to figure out how everything changes.
And somehow we always
The
went from
rule
really
of-
dark to really bright, which made it even trickier.
Yeah.
Even harder. Yeah.
In IMAX, was having like, you know, we really play with changing aspect ratio to tell story, and to be able to pop open mid-shot does give us that extra push.
Well, that's what Mad Weary is, isn't it? All this time, Thena was remembering all the other planets we were sent to, and everyone dying during the emergence.
I thought we were
One thing that Ben,
Turns out we were bad guys.
you know, coming in to work on a film that would need a lot of planning, you know, a lot of these action sequences and things that doesn't exist, you know, that you have to, and to use Previs as a tool and to explore these ideas and possibilities. And then when we get to location, keeping these ideas in mind, but also be adaptable and change. And so make sure that we're actually taking advantage of our location and letting the actors interact with the location. And then you go back with, you know, with post-viz and then with you guys with the vendors to adding even more realism to that. So that order of things was something that Ben, you know, was able to sort of guide me through and use stuff more. So that's a great thing to learn, which tool is used when and how. It's very informative.
It's a process. I mean, and these movies are so complicated. You can't figure everything out from the get-go.
No.
So you got to go through a process, and it's part of the creation of the entire feel and look of the film.
Yeah.
To go through all these layers of different level of interaction with very crude beginning and starting to go layers after layers and figuring out how it's gonna look at the end.
Yeah, you also can't just show up and wing it. It's you have to plan, and I love that we explore so many options in previs, and then if there's any changes on set, I was able to just do little stick figures, and you guys are able to look at that and go, that could work, and so that's full CG shot.
Yeah, the Amazon.
Nobody thought that was full CG. Everyone was surprised.
ILM.
Really?
Yeah.
ILM
Good.
knocked it out of the
ILM
park
did
on
that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, this sequence actually was one of the one we previewed the most in detail.
Because it was the first thing we shot. Yeah.
So complicated, yeah. But
I believe those
we
walking
stayed-
shot was the first thing we shot day one. This is day one. The alpacas.
yeah, yes, alpacas. I think it was Drake coming out of the.
Is that the first shot? Yeah.
That was the first shot we did.
I
yeah,
remember
very first
Barry
shot.
was like, "What? I'm first? Chloe, don't do this to me."
Yeah.
This is the first shot we did.
This is
That
yes.
feat, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we built that pool in the middle of the Druids camp for the sequence coming up later.
Make yourselves at home.
No, but I'm very proud of everyone who worked on.
You've given me
I mean,
a lot of
like
ideas
hundreds
for
of
more
people
projects.
who brought the fight scene in this camp together.
I am glad.
Because from earlier on, we have looked at The Revenant. Ben and I watched The Revenant. You as well as we watched it over and over. Some of the sequences, and I used it presented to our Eunice, our lovely Liverpool supporting
Stunt coordinator.
stunt coordinator.
Stunt coordinator.
And
yeah.
we all watched it many times and said, how can we make this fight as immersive as we can pull off, with deviance in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to fight imaginary creatures. We had some of the stunt guys. I think was it Ace that was doing
Ace, yes.
Yes.
playing a lot of
Ace.
the deviants running around on all four. It was
great.
super helpful
It
for
was
everyone to
great.
get the coordination
Yeah.
ready and get everyone working together.
Yeah, and this camp, this was in a forest, warmly, right?
Wormsley Wood.
Wormsley, yeah. Oh my
yeah.
goodness, and it was every weather you can imagine happened,
Yes.
and the ground becomes more than you should tell it.
I think it was
Muddy.
I have a picture on the last day. It was just like a river of mud slowly flowing down there. We had
It was
machines,
rough, like, this
machines got
was-
stuck and
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
rough.
but it looks
Yeah,
good.
we had rain.
It's so worth it
I
going out.
remember at some point there was talks about doing this in the studio, and I was.
I'll tell you,
no.
Steph, I owe this to you. I know it because earlier on I was like, I mean, legitimately, everyone was like, are we really going to start a film with 2.5 weeks of night shoots? That's just going to kill the spirit, And then,
Yeah.
and then I went to you, I was like, should we shoot that on stage? You said, Chloe, you cannot shoot a long forest sequence on a stage. You can't do it. I will not let you do it.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, okay, I will. So then, Ben, we figured out a way of treating this sequence almost as like otherworldly, so this kind of day for dawn look. And then more, with Joe, like a lot of time spent in DI, trying to make it work. And so the storyline is, it goes from light, like just kind of last light of the day, everyone sort of talking, reconnecting, to a deviant ambush that will gonna get darker and darker. You'll get the darkest in the most brutal moment, and then the sun comes up as the battle ends. Right, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Come on. You know who you are.
Yeah, it's
That
such
moment is one of my favorite between the two of them.
Oh,
I love them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just couldn't see us shooting in a studio for this, and with your feeling for natural light and.
well, you saw
all
what
that
we
stuff,
did
it would have
in
been
some stuff we
miserable.
did in previous, and also like we got on location. Well, actually, before we got on, the idea that we had was these long shots because of the Revenant.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you're like, you can't do that on the stage, Chloe. You can't make these, it's just impossible. You can't be as free. And then once we got to this location, we used just a small camera and just shot the previs and adjusted it based on the location, and tried many things of how long we had a winner planned, and that was.
Yeah.
Even though the two big winners we did, even though we ended up cutting them short, but it really did. One is in Aztec, one is in Druid's Camp. It really put us on the right way of thinking, of forcing us to think that way.
Tinkerbell's always been in love with
Yeah, that's the challenge you give to all of us. Like at the beginning, it's just I want to do these shots that are immersive and long, and so people can feel like they're part of the events, you know. And there was nowhere to hide, as you said earlier. It's just, these shots are incredibly difficult, you know, even when they're full CG, but like on location like that. And we had to stitch a few shots together and things like that, which is not easy on location because you can't control the light and you cannot control the leaves and the weather or anything. Especially when one part of the shot is main unit and second part is second unit or something like, or you're shooting it a few days later because you don't have the actor on that day or anything. But I think we pulled it off and it worked pretty well.
I also think it goes back to the same thing we said in the World Forge when the National Geographic thing, right? The camera is just observing. It's so hard for you guys, like because I wanted the action sequence not to be cutty and not have the camera to be in places a person cannot be. Occasionally, yes, like there is top, looking downward. But most of the time, I would say 80% of the time is at eye level. Is the operator is on the ground, Josh with the Ronin, which is not the fanciest equipment either. So then there is a limitation to where the camera goes, and what's within the frame has to be. The action has to be between Icarus and the Deviant, which we have one coming up. You're just watching. The camera barely moves. And so for you guys to convince the audience that gigantic thing is on top of him and they just keep going and going, it's a big challenge for you.
But when it works, it becomes really immersive because you're in there. The camera is inside, like in the middle of the action, which is great.
Yeah. What you told us, it's like the action and the edit is not what's the camera moves and the edit is not what's going to create the excitement. It's what's happening within the frame.
Yeah.
And and that really was a challenge for us because we had to maintain that level of excitement throughout with animation and the interaction between the actors and the Deviant, which is really hard to do. The physicality of that is really complicated to get on as we're shooting between a CG character.
You have nowhere to hide.
And an actor.
You have nowhere to hide.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide, and it's just really complicated. And we had to sustain it for so long in some shots.
Yeah, and you even, both our actors, you even have to do some CG with their body to make that performance believable because when they were there, they didn't know how the Deviant is actually going to move. You have a sandbag. You don't know how the claw and the teeth are going to come down, right? So,
this shot, for example, which is one take, is a multiple takes that have been kind of mixed together and stitched together.
And stopped
which
by
is not easy with a Ronin as well, with a free-floating camera.
and is interrupted by Coron's joke.
And it also puts limitations on the animation when we do those long takes because you can't really pan off of someone and just leave them. You have to keep the shot alive and motivate what the characters are doing because they're coming back into frame over and over again. So, but it definitely makes it really immersive. Like you feel like you're in this.
I really wanted, and that's something coming from my previous films. I really wanted not to rely on fancy camera moves to create, like you said, Steph, but let the audience just discover what's within the frame.
Yeah.
And no close-ups, inserts. No close-ups sometimes.
No
and
inserts?
Again, that was definitely something I have to learn to sometimes let go. Would you say there's a couple inserts throughout the film? But we definitely did not want to just pop in, do a slow motion insert, no slow motion, no insert, except when Cersei's hand touches the tree.
That's right.
Correct. But that was a special. That was very special, that one.
This shot here, I think, was 3 shots.
It was.
For Icarus getting attacked by Crow again. I think we did 3 takes. One where he slams to the ground, one where he gets pulled, and then one where he kind of gets flipped over. They were pretty interesting to stitch together.
Yeah. So you constantly kind of switch between the real actor and the CG one, and back to the real one, and all of that very close to him on the floor. It's really complicated.
I tell you, I had to build trust with you guys. You know, earlier on, I was like, Steph, Dan, is this gonna be a winner? They're like, yes. I was like, how is it possibly a winner? This is like I will ask like probably every other hour. They're like, I think so. Yeah, Chloe, we're gonna do our best. I was like, no.
Yeah.
You're not doing best. It has to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
No, it's incredible. Then to see that, I think like a year and a half later, after the pandemic has happened, you know, I was like, oh wow, it's a wonder. I learned how to have patience.
You gotta be patient. You need to have nerves of steel sometimes.
Yes. You know, I'm so used to just capture stuff on camera and it's right there. And this, no, I'm very grateful for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of challenges, but it pays off. I mean, it's a very unique sequence, I think, in the end.
And the deviants, if you look at the deviants, right, just try to maintain the color on them and not just fall into like, you know, they look, and I like, and I liked how the deviants, they feel alien, but they also feel natural. We talked about, you know, obviously there's a big debate whether the deviant is part of evolution, that they have the right to exist, just like animals. And we talked about these kind of exotic predators in the rainforest. They blend in, right? Like, so it's a really nice balance between something natural that belongs to Earth, but then also something alien that belongs to the Celestials.
Yes, and you gave us references of real animals and at the same time, but you know, sometimes it's gonna switch into alien mode and go really fast. You wanted that kind of change of rhythm between what an animal would do and suddenly what a predator an alien predator would become.
Yeah, you should talk about the deviant movement that you were, because you had.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at, you know, animals. They're all inspired by animals, really. At that point in the film, they're almost like a wolf pack. So there was a bit of that in there, but we looked at that, and we looked at. I know you wanted to have this kind of twitchy, very quick moving, but always very motivated kind of action. Like when they decide to attack, they're very, very specific about their motion. They're very smart. They're not they're not stupid animals. They're actually really smart in what they're doing, and you can see in this sequence that they work together. You know, they're a group of. That's what there's that wolf pack feeling that they work together to fight the Eternals, and they're much stronger at that point. I don't know if people noticed, but at this point in the story, they've got these golden elements on their body because they've acquired some of the energy from Ajax, which we see later. Spoiler alert. But we do tell the story throughout the film that initially, even though they're bigger animals at the beginning, they're easier for the Eternals to fight them. But as they evolve and they acquire that kind of cosmic energy within them, it's much more challenging for them.
Yeah, that's the one
for the Eternals.
This is the one that I almost bite your head off like every day. I tend to. So I was like, this is gonna remain a wonder, right? Like we shot Richard. Really, he was tossed around by our, what's his name? The guy who did the Deviant? Ace, yeah.
Or no, it was
someone else. Ari, Ari.
That was Ari. The guy with the Chewbacca.
Yes. And we did that for how many takes we did it? I think, we really shook Richard's bones. It was good. You can feel it. This was fun.
That was cool. That was special effects that our friends from special effects department did for us with the explosion of the water. I mean, we added a little bit to it, but it was a really cool effects that they did.
Deviant tree.
Yes.
We did have another Deviant sort of reference we had was the Princess Mononoke. What was that called? That thing?
I don't know what the name of it was, but the way their muscles and their tendrils are kind of moving, we wanted to kind of reference that monster in Princess Mononoke, the kind of wormy monster with 5 legs. That's something I've always, thought about, and because it's so alien and weird, and I kind of wanted to kind of reference a little bit to that.
It really brought them alive. They feel alien. Again, a mixture of they have the shapes of our mammals, but then they have this weird thing about the way their muscle move. Oh, yeah, Down was so good. Here he was fighting nothing. Like, it was very
hanging in the air on wires, and he did he did a great job. It looks so good.
Yes,
he was so great to work with.
Yeah, this was the 4th
and talking about talking about the complexity of the interaction between the actors and the CG character here is like so close.
It's done so well, and also because we use sharp lenses and wide angle, because we use, and we don't use long lens, so the camera is always right there, so close. And for you guys to do believable job, do a great job, it's so hard because it's so sharp and so close. You can't hide anything.
Nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to hide.
Yeah. And here comes our Crow 3.
Well, there was I wish we can make like deviant gummy bears. So if you put all the deviants together in the timeline, the oldest one are like on Earth, they're like the biggest, right? And now it's Crow. So it's really evolution that we're looking at. They're getting smaller, as you said, Steph, but smarter. But then the original deviant is taken more like, we got that inspiration, almost like a sea, some kind of sea creature.
Sea monster,
that before it even come onto the shore becomes the big mammals you meet at the beginning. There was a lot of hanging Richard on wire.
Yes, even in the forest here.
Yeah.
Whole stunt team hung him up on a forklift.
Yeah, Eunice did a great job on these, trying to make him fly in the forest. I mean, that was really hard.
I remember, Steph, you were very disciplined about, if you can let him land for real, land for real. I some point was like, can we just please CG him landing? So I went, nope. Okay. And that discipline really helps.
It works. Yeah, it works because it actually makes him feel very natural in the ways he's landing.
It's not like perfect. There's some imperfection in it. That's important.
Yes.
Although when the lighting is running out, I just
yes.
Please.
Get him to land off a box. That's fine. We don't have the time.
I think there were a few times Steph looked around and go, get a box. And I don't see him for a little bit. I think he's crying in the corner.
Yes.
So walking off of a box is not the same thing.
Well, I think Richard did a good job actually, because he's a character that can fly, so it's natural for him. And I think in all these landings that we did with wires, he actually did a good job at making it feel like it's part of him,
Yeah. There's something that we use, a phrase that we use called the tableau shots. We use that word. Time for a tableau shot is when the Eternals are you saw it twice already with Gilgamesh, right? Like one time that he's on the ground, and then his funeral is to position the Eternals in a shot together, because we wanted to keep evoking the feeling of a family portrait. And then who is standing next to who also tells the story as well. And this is earlier that you see Athena going into the river. That was one of my favorite moments in the New World. And I really, really, oh no, is it? Yeah, it is a New World. Yeah, I really wanted to pay tribute to that. And I think getting Angie really into that lake, standing there, it was a beautiful moment to film.
She did it. She went there, no problem.
I think everyone was very worried about safety. She was like, just give me some shoes. I'm going. I just walk in there. What's the problem?
Yes. With that beautiful dress.
Yeah.
That was kind of an ancient
Yeah.
You know, there was only one of them or something like that. I don't
That's
think there
right.
was
Yeah, it was
a lot of
it was an
fear
antique.
about.
It was an antique piece.
Yes.
And I said, please
Yes.
don't break that dress. It's the only one. Yeah.
Yes. You got so lucky with weather, Chloe. You have something with weather.
That's what Kevin Delanoy, our line producer, our exec producer, told me that you know he's worked on locations his whole life. I don't know. I hope it doesn't go away. This weather god thing. I remember
You've expired your luck.
with this film, I remember when we wrapped Alaska. Remember, like right away, it started raining, and
Yes.
everyone. So
Yes.
Hiroshima. This was a very difficult sequence, you know, to conceive. How can we show this crime against humanity and yet not sensationalize it? You know, and again, the National Geographic approach is just let's just watch it. The camera doesn't do anything fancy, and I think we look at actual footage, actual photography, and then look at the weather of that day. Imagine what it will actually look like for that big shot.
Yeah. It was in August. So it was a sunny day. And that's the next day or the aftermath, or but the first shot was we looked at photograph from the actual moment, and we really tried to replicate the shape of the the mushroom and all that stuff, as trying to be as true to history as possible.
It was the first time that I have seen that moment in a just realistic photographic way, right? Like from, and it's crazy that happened. You know, like to see that so realistic is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So now we're in Chicago. No, we're in London.
Chicago, England.
You were in London.
Yeah.
Chicago, England. Yeah.
We tried to find that one little street that could potentially look like Chicago, and it was a beautiful evening. We all knew this scene is important. We all knew this is an important scene for us, and then again, weather god was very kind to me. We rained, and then the sun came out, so there was a beautiful kind of orange light that feels so warm and beautiful, and feels like a fall, a colorful fall. And the Superman reference, if you know, I just want to put it on the record, is all because we love it so much.
I think you even had a rainbow in the sky, right?
We had a rainbow in the sky, yeah.
Yes.
And then I think Brian came up to me and was like, that's very subtle.
Yes, I have a picture of the house and Richard just in front of the house and the big rainbow on top of the house, which is kind of,
Hey, I think
it was there for a reason.
It was there for a reason, yeah. And we do reference Superman and Batman in this film, which I loved, and we do that because we love these characters, and it's all really admiration, and it's just fun banter. This was
Well, so is telling your
this this thing is interesting because
I got lucky.
it was my first time shooting inside a house. Like, I already don't know how to film inside of a house. I like to go into a field. I'm already a bit like, and then to have then special effects of table falling, I-beams in the, and just all that stuff. It was probably one of the toughest scenes for me to film, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's not your natural environment.
No, 3 people talking around a table, and then all this, it was tough.
What the hell is wrong?
But I do love what they became, though.
Yeah, and the IKEA.
Shout out
reference
to
at the end
IKEA.
is
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yes.
This table there was a lot of pressure. We all felt it because we only had 3 tables. Did you guys add anything to this? The table.
We had some little thing. Remember, there was some story about changing the water in the glass into alcohol or whatever, and it for duration it was a bit too long, so we had to kind of retint some of the stuff with water. Nothing too crazy already. That was pretty much all you guys in camera.
How many
Brian
shots
is
are
amazing.
there? Oh yeah, he is. This is.
In the film,
Yeah, how many visual effects shots? 1,800.
1,957 or something
Wow.
like that. Almost 2,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could have been worse if we shot that forest on a stage.
Exactly. Could have been much worse.
Oh, this kid, he's
No.
amazing. He's just so full of spirit, and he was always watching us. He was always asking important questions. Oh, we're very
The
proud
kiss.
of this moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Why does my heart go on beating?
And then we're back.
Do these
Were you in that
eyes
helicopter?
of mine
Yeah.
cry?
Oh.
Lucky you.
I think in the next.
Oh, we have a cameo here.
Yeah.
Oh
Kevin
yeah,
Delanoy and
Kevin
Carl.
Delanoy and Carl, our location, our EP slash line producer, and then our location manager. I think they were
right.
wizards of locations. You know. I love this shot. How they come through the dust. The Sprites illusions mix really well with the dust. That was the day where everyone, when they take their sunglasses off, everyone's got a panda face from the
Yes.
The Domo.
Domo.
the Domo.
That's a cool shot. ILM did that. And it was really fun to do.
I love that
And
you
you
see
see-
Babylon below.
Yeah.
Yeah, Remains of Babylon.
One thing that was difficult because I wanted to do these very formal shots. They're formal, so they're straight on. And the Domo is a triangle. So for us, even the opening as well, to figure out scale and with a
Yes.
wide angle lens, it's tough.
Yes. There's a lot of cheating actually in those shots in terms of it's a triangle, but we had to kind of change the shape of the triangle to accommodate for the lens sometimes so that we would get the right look of it. You know, because
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, it's like when you're shooting someone very close with a wide lens, their nose becomes bigger.
Yeah.
So it was the same with the Domo, you know?
Yeah,
So we
occasionally
had to
in
kind
the
of-
in visual effects review, I'm like, why is Icarus so small in the background? That's because it's a very
Wide lens.
lens, Chloe. Oh, okay. Can we scale him up a little bit?
Yeah.
Fasto's energy power was definitely an evolution of like how do we manifest, because he creates weapons. So these rings were a very last minute addition, which I loved. I think.
Yeah, they were. We played around quite a bit to find the right level of, you know, blinginess and all of that, and the design. And we stayed very pure actually, which I liked throughout the film in terms of design. We never went to, you know, overly fancy stuff, which, you know, I really enjoyed doing. That was something that I thought Luma did all these effects for Fastos in the Domo, and they did a good job. It was difficult to find the right tone in all this. They also did something that you see in a lot of these shots, is these fungus, these kind of colorful things in the back. We remember we were in the Domo and we were looking at those and we were, oh my God, that would be cool if we could animate those things in the background. And guess what? We did it in a lot of shots. But it adds to the strangeness of that space, you know.
Yeah, we wanted to have just, you know, what would Arishem, just because all these fungus that are growing on him in space, you know, in the World Forge, and bring that same element into the Domo. Bit quirky. The quirkiness.
They look so happy, the little dancing mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's so subtle, but it's a fun detail.
Yeah.
What for? Well, the deviant.
That's a big moment there. That's them making a plan for the end of the film.
Unimind.
The Unimind.
The Unimind has been that there's an image of the Unimind from the Kirby run of a brain and all the Eternals around it, and we wanted to do it here, our version of it. Again, I just love the idea. Kirby has the way he created Eternals they're this group of people that just exist outside the mainstream, right? They really exist on their own. They have their own stories, but he uses myth to tell these really human stories, like these kind of existential questions that we ponder since the dawn of time, you know. And I think we're really trying to not just the visual styles of it, but the philosophy of Kirby's Eternals into this film. The idea also just looking at these individuals that are so different from each other, but the only way they could be strong, you know, is they could come together in this idea of a uni-mind. I really like that concept.
Cersei should decide.
Yeah, it's interesting how, you know, gods were telling a lot of, you know, the story of the ancient Greek gods were telling a lot about ourselves, in a way.
100%.
And, you know, and this is the same kind of idea here. Very metaphysical in a way.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I'm very interested to hear people's, how people who are, have a lot of thoughts on religion, you know, and how they interpret the film. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm okay, Kingo. If you think we should...
We're gonna find out in a few days. We're recording this a bit before the premiere, so we don't know.
I love this relationship. You know, like Kingo looks up to Icarus so much. You know, he and then Icarus. You know, I think that Icarus is a very, very complex, a very difficult character. You know, because when you have all these expectations on you, and again, when we talk about a character like him throughout myth, Superman is an interpretation of that as well, modern interpretation of that. And in myths, we have many characters like that who has the weight of the world on their shoulders, so much power, you know, and how do they had to decide between the greater good and then personal responsibilities. Is while Cersei, being someone
How long do we have?
isn't powerful, but she lead with love, you know, and how that juxtaposition play, but with two characters that are in love with each other. I think when I read the treatment for Eternals, which is put together by Nate Moore and Kevin and those guys, and with the Furples, Kaz and Ryan Furple, I thought what a great way to tell this complex story in this allegorical way. This was a mixture of this South Dakota, the Badlands in the background. I appreciate you adding the Badlands into the background. I think one thing that I was most humbled by, and I think I'm so grateful to have learned, was that just how much visual effects and CGI as a tool of storytelling can change the landscape of cinema moving forward. And I think sometimes it's a shame that isn't as taught in school, you know, because I did not learn anything about it. Actually, I was afraid of it. I was resistant of it. I didn't trust it. I think that's gonna, you know, somehow go against what the kind of story I want to tell. And so I think there's a stigma attached to it that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I think filmmakers, you know, if they learn to use any tool and use them to tell their stories, CGI not going to force you into anything. You just drive it as a director, as you've done on this film. I mean, you had very little experience with it, but you just embraced it, and not as a way of, you know, going the easy route. Actually, it's the other way around. You just forced us into going into your mind and trying to understand what your storytelling style is. And I think filmmakers, young filmmakers, some of them are very attracted by it. Some of them are very, like, the CGI is not for me. It's for, you know, for these big movies. And I think it's a tool that, like editing, like music, like everything that you need to learn, because it's something that can really help you tell a story if you use it correctly. And the more you learn about it, the more you learn how to make the best out of it. So
Yeah.
And you went through that journey. I'm glad we did it together, and I think it it really paid off in the end. And you were really quick at learning how to twist us into submission.
No, I go onto their computer. I delete any lens longer than a 35. delete.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I wish, I wish that we could have more programs and conversations between not just big blockbuster filmmakers, but like going to places like film festivals and film schools to kind of giving demonstrations and things like that to be able to get people get out of that fear and start to use it as a tool, because you can use it in the smaller movies. David Lowery, for example, is another filmmaker that does such a great job doing that, like The Green Knight and A Ghost Story. You could take big blockbuster, this type of you could use CGI in smaller movies, and it actually makes me think about
especially now when the technology is getting more and more accessible, and it's not you don't need a huge facility to do some of this stuff. Full CG characters
We've
is
done a
probably
bit
still
of,
hard, but you can. It's really something you can use to enhance your story.
Absolutely. I mean, you've done a bit of VFX on Nomadland.
Oh yeah, me, my visual effects supervisor for Nomadland, that's already. I've got CG embers, CG stars.
Yes.
Removing some stuff.
Yeah. Some little things, but again, all trying to help storytelling and.
Yeah. I had Jupiter.
Helping
Remember?
the flow.
I had a Jupiter.
You had Jupiter. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
This was this you guys. I mean, like really pull something out of your. I can't say, because
of our heart.
Of your heart, because you talk them through this, because there was.
It's a full CG environment, but it's based off that lake that we had in Germany. We played around a lot on the amount of snow, the amount of mist that there is, and it was trying to make that moment kind of cold and it's more on the fear, like Ajax gonna die. So it was really important that we get that right. You took us to different ideas about the light and everything. We played a lot with the light and inside the cave as well. That's a big moment. That's the transformation of the deviant, and when they actually get that cosmic energy I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, but look how long that shot is. That's not easy for them.
No, and it's like 5 or 6 deviants transforming, and it's really long. And Weta took care of that sequence inside the cave, and Ilem did everything outside on the lake. That sequence was kind of in and out as well. We just didn't know where to place it in the movie. It moved in a few different places. There was very big storytelling elements attached to it that we needed to do right.
Yep. Some CG Badlands.
We took out a lot of trees too.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot more trees in that location.
It's England.
The directors who becomes very OCD.
Well, you knew the Badlands so well. We didn't.
I was so OCD. I was like, why is there's one more tree there. Take it out.
Oh my God, that was the first time I saw that sequence, remember, there was the sound of horses kind of. You remember? And I was like,
first,
is he killing horses?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we, our editor, Craig and Dylan, we were like, I don't think you can come back from killing horses. So
yes.
We admitted that, yes. Oh, man. Oh, and, the DI process of this film has been such an informative experience for me, and also the reason why I really wanted to do this director's commentary with you guys, because you were with me since day one I signed up, right, to now.
Yeah.
We're about to go finish home video DI today and call it a wrap. Yeah. My visual effects supervisors are there with me every single day, every on-set, off-set, beginning and post-prep development. So the DI process so much is about having you guys there, like how do we enhance what I captured, but then with your visual effects not be affected by it, and then also making sure they could even look better, and that there's just so much nuance to the DI, and Jill, our colorist, did an incredible job, but it's a long DI session. Like, I don't know, like weeks and weeks and weeks. A few months.
Well, you're very subtle you're very subtle in your approach to color and contrast and exposure, and you really model every shot. Like, you have been on every single shot modeling the light and the color and the saturation, everything. So it's been, it's been it's been a journey that we've done together, and Martin has actually been very instrumental in that too. Spending all the time with you that I couldn't spend with you.
It's been very interesting, I have to say. That the subtle tones and the gradients in this movie made it very. You had to be very gentle when pushing things around to kind of preserve all that. It's easy to just stomp on top of it, and yeah, Jill has been great working with her on that.
Yeah.
And Chloe, you have a very good eye for color, more so than most directors.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm
very sharp.
I'm super grateful for Marvel. They basically just left me to do this. Like, Victoria will come and help me check out some of the visual effects shots, make sure they're staying intact. But I just left mostly with either Steph or Morton with our colorist, and just trying to figure out how we can find that middle ground. It needs to be exciting, it needs to be vibrant, but it also has to be soft. And all the powers and action and visual effects has to sit together. This painting.
Be a relief.
What was the name of it?
It's The Monk and the Sea. This painting really meant a lot to me because it's one of the first paintings created to capture humanity's insignificance against nature, like in front of nature, and how small we are. How much we should bow down to nature. So it's very similar to the Eternals on that cliff. I remember when we finished filming inside the Domo, and we had to pull it apart, and I cried.
You were sad.
That was a big, impressive set.
Yes.
It's very immersive.
The sound was so special in it too, because of that dome shape.
Yeah.
You could talk on one side and whisper, and then someone could hear you on the other side. It was really special.
I remember Salma had such a physical reaction to the space. She was like, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm underwater. I feel like I'm like, how when you go diving into an underwater structure and going through the space, and Eve did an incredible job."
You always told us it's a place of worship in a way. So it's got that, sometimes you get into a church and there's that echo to it. That's that special sound. And it definitely had that.
And another thing that Ben and I talked about was we wanted the film to look and feel timeless. Meaning, like, there's going to be a lot of moments that are just talking, right? Like, especially this sequence, when they get to the Domo, a lot of talking. And we wanted to feel like they're against this textured, dark background that could fall off. Like some classic paintings, right? Like you have people with light on them, but then they're against this background. So if the spaceship looked anything too bright, it's going to be quite difficult. And we also have a cast for very different shades of skin tone as well. And then so having this textured background really helped to pull them together.
And you forget that it's a spaceship, really, because there's no real controls. It just becomes these rooms that all the action takes place in, which is neat.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because earlier on, when we were designing the Domo, that we're very proud of, we thought about, no, let's not use human technology as a measure. Let's not think about what's the most advanced human technology should look like. And again, a big tribute, a thank to 2001. And the idea of the monolith, and the idea, and again, I was reading 3001, the Final Odyssey, that the greatest creation of technology will look like nature. It will go back to something completely seamless, and that's what those monoliths is supposed to represent. So we thought, instead of having wires and computers, let's do the opposite of that.
Yeah. It's very primal in a way. It's just going back to the origin.
which is also how Arishem, the design, Ryan Manner, work on the Arishem's design with you guys as well, is that there's no need to show the computer in him, the technology in him. That actually in 3001, when I read it, it says that most likely this technologically advanced alien or whatever it is would take the shape of some kind of mineral in space. I was like, yes! We're not crazy.
It's like that asteroid that flew by our, the solar system a few years ago, and no one knew what it was, and it was traveling in a weird way, and we still don't know what it is.
It's the
still
Domo.
very exciting. It is the Domo.
It's a baby celestial, and also, we wanted to make sure it was very important. Every department knew about this, and I think that seeped into the way they design things. Is that we don't want simple morals in this film. We want moral ambiguity, meaning like when in the end you kill a celestial, we don't want a big cheer. We want people to feel slightly uncomfortable, and then when you kill a deviant, we don't want to just be like, yeah, kill them all, they're bad. We want so the deviants were they reminds you of your pups, they sometimes they and then they look beautiful, and then the celestials are elemental. You look at Tiamat in Earth, it feels like he belongs there. It feels like he's a part of it. We probably are not. So it's for us to say we have the right to live in front on top of any other life form. That we should have the right to exist in the universe before anything else. That's a big statement, and like Carone said, we have to do better, and if we want that right to live. So the design of the Celestials cannot just be some more like transformer-like robot or something that's completely technological. It should feel like part of nature that we're destroying.
Yeah, it's clearly not man-made. It's part of the universe. It's It's not designed, it's just, it is something that exists. Yeah.
The question is, if we were to destroy something that's a part of a universe for us to live, we better be worthy.
Yes.
Or Arishem is coming
the old
back.
dilemma.
Yeah, exactly.
Our plan is to put Tiamat to sleep.
Yeah, our actors did an incredible job in this. Like we used to, this reel, this part of the film is reel 7. We have 9 reels. In the edit, we break it down. And then reel 7, we always joke, is a Shakespeare reel. It's a reel where everyone sat around and gave their performances. And, I think our editors and our actors did an incredible job. Really, making sure that the stakes are there, and then the complicated emotions.
There's no time for that.
Setting it up for the final act. We always wanted the final battle to be difficult for the audience to root side, So, so I think these scenes are very important. For them to set up what they stand for and their relationship with each other that has to be pulled apart in the end.
What I like is that they all have a good reason to do what they do.
Yes.
And they all have their own point of view on what the situation is. And, some of them will work together, some of them will split apart, but that sets all that drama that we see, unraveling towards the end of the film of what the stakes are and who do you stand for. It's important because it motivates everything they're gonna do later.
I was also very moved. It's something I think Nate felt strongly as well about the idea of Kingo's character not fighting in the end, because he has a strong belief that the Celestials are right. He's with Icarus. But the difference between him and Icarus is that he will not hurt people for his beliefs. And that, I think, believe it or not, is a lot of us when in this situation. Like I would, on a different day, I don't know whether I'm willing to live so billions more cannot. I don't know. Maybe I end up sitting this one out as well. So we wanted to make sure there's 10 characters. We say let's try to find some different point of views. It's not just everyone pick a side and fight in the end.
Yeah. it's definitely not black and white in here. It's
No.
like, it's very subtle as everybody dealing with the situation and the complexity of it all.
And hopefully it comes through that each of them, how they deal with it says certain aspect about who we are as human beings. It's all the duality that's within each of us.
And they're all dealing with it differently and doing different things, but they're all kind of following their own heart, what they believe in.
Yeah. Dancing mushroom time.
Oh, yeah, it's our happy mushroom moment.
Yeah, I saw this is Brian really, I heavily rely on my actors to bring a sense of who they are and ideas they have, because as you can probably tell, like I'm stretched really thin here, and they each of them had brought really something really unique. Like Brian showed up, started to say, so what do you want me to do with my powers? So what ideas do you have? He said, well, see, I have this idea of this gestures I can do, and he started doing it. I was like, yeah, that. And that allowed you guys to play. He made that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Himself.
He made that up completely, and it was a nice, interesting puzzle that he gave to us to play with. But that worked very nicely at the end.
Yeah.
And here we are back on
the Canary
on our
Island.
Yeah, the Canary Island, but a different island. We're in Lanzarote.
Oh, I have to say, Lanzarote was a special place because very few things are alive because it's such a volcanic island, and so you can actually take a nap on the ground. There's no bugs.
Yes.
You have another picture of me sleeping in a sand pit somewhere.
Yes.
The magnetic field on that island is so strong that it suddenly pulled our crane head, the camera head on the crane.
Yes. Yeah.
Suddenly starts spinning and then just broke off because of the magnetic field.
It broke completely. It fell on the floor and it was so dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a special place. That's Fuerteventura here,
That's
though.
Fuerteventura. And this sequence is a big mixture of everything we talked about shooting on location and the tide, the lights and the clouds and the wind, everything that's unpredictable. This long 20-some minute sequence that were shot with different units and different time, and then you guys have to sort of bring it all together. The editors brought it together, but then you guys have to visually keep it coherent. That's probably one of the biggest challenges we have on the film.
That was really challenging, and there was, well, where do we keep the sky the way it is? Where you're very sensitive to exposure in the sky and all that stuff. No, but it's true, and you really pushed us, to our limits in terms of, because we tend to. Sometimes we tend to just go, it's one sky, it's going to work for everything. And then it starts to become more artificial in a way. And you wanted to really ground us into what the plates were. So we paid extra attention to that. Weta did most of the work here on that final battle. And they really, we had to reconnect our brains to go back to reality more often than we usually do.
Yeah, and Morton has this thing, he said, you always say, show me the plate.
Yeah, I think that's the t-shirt.
Yes.
Show me the plate.
Yes.
Let's look at the plate.
Yeah.
It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes there's no plate, so we have to look around.
It was
look
challenging.
around at the shots and
Let's just say we live and learn. Like there were some teary moments in VFX review. Like, what do you mean there's no plate? Steph would be very gently. He'd say, because you said we have to move on.
Yeah.
And it's always it's always the one that we need.
It really is, right? You always. The day you want something, it's the day you don't have it. But Weta, they really worked a lot on that, and they've rebuilt, and the entire beach as a digital asset, the ocean, all that stuff. Because we had a lot of shots that came up a little bit later that we thought about that were helping the action, and then we kind of making things work together a little bit better. It always happens on these shows. These shows are so complicated.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things
so
we couldn't
complex.
do. Just getting machines onto that beach to move the camera or lift someone.
Yeah.
We had a beach where we went around a corner and then the tide started coming in and we had to everyone get off the beach before the whole beach disappeared underwater. And it was definitely challenging.
We had these boards that we were working on, and then there was a high tide, and they all went into the ocean, and they came back 3 days later. I mean,
at some point, I remember the cave. We were shooting the scene in Kurofai, and it was just coming in, the tide, about to wash, like literally block off the way to get out of the cave and go in the cave. I remember the security guard looked at us like, "Are you guys going in?" Or we all look at Angie's like, "Yeah, we're doing it." We're all just waiting. I remember staff here like, "Oh my, we're gonna." That was, again, in those moments, and also as the sun's setting, he brings the cast and crew together. These are some of my favorite moments filming this movie. There's a camaraderie, and then it shows up on screen. It really does. In this sequence, another thing that I realized that there's a stigma attached to it, is additional photography. You know, for me, additional photography, if you can't afford to do it, it's a blessing. You know, it's a tool to use. You know, it's not something that say, oh, because I didn't get it right the first time. The more you want to challenge yourself on your first way out, you know, like the first time around, the more you're going to have mistakes, things that you didn't get. And so to be able to catch these moments, also like CG some of the moments to be able to, you know, connect the fights was crucial to get this done.
And it's so complicated. I mean, you can't get everything right from the get-go, and that you need to sometimes go back to the editing room and figure out what's working and what's not, and then just make a plan on how to get the elements that you need to finish it. You know, it's part of our process. It's just the way it is, and I think it's a luxury, and it's something that's really great because, you know, it makes our films better. If we were just stuck with what we had, sometimes we'd be really
well, you will make you less likely to take risks because you know, for me, I think for this, because I was so wild once I got on location, yes, there are some magical things happen, but there's also a lot of holes that left you guys, you know. So then when we go into the edit, has to figure this out. For me, post-viz was a very, very important tool for us, you know, to know that we have a post-viz team, be able to just come up with shots that we need.
Try things out
before we go into additional photography. It was brilliant.
Yeah. And what helped us as well, they did a lot of, they threw a lot of ideas to us, and we kind of, we all work together to try and figure out, you know, how to make things, improve things, and what we say, plussing things. At Marvel, that's a term we use all the time.
Plussing.
And they would come back with new shots, like brand new shots and cool beats and ideas, which was really nice and added to it.
Well, do you remember, like, my thing? Friends from White are here. Do they call me Friends from White are here? That means that they're coming with cool shots for me to look at. There are some really, I mean, there's a lot of screaming, happy.
Yes. Yeah, like, oh my God.
And then I would be like, oh my God. And then Steph would be like, okay, now she wants that entire shot. Because it's like really long, complicated, time-consuming shots. I want it all. And then we look at Victoria. Victoria's like, fine, she can have it. But I have to say,
it was good.
I have to say, I learned a lesson as well that these things ain't free. You know, like I have definitely. Sometimes I don't know how much they cost and how long it takes. So I will be like, just change the animation, change the whole thing. And you can't do that, you know. So that, again, I learned how to set limitation for myself in the real world after having made a few films. And I am learning how to set limitations for myself in the CG world, not to have less good product, but that's so that we can really make what's within the sandbox as good as possible.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
That was a tough lesson to learn.
It's a process. I mean, it is. But we didn't give you too many limitations, though.
No. But I feel bad about it because I actually feel like if I had saved time, if I had really like think a little carefully, went deeper instead of wider, you know, there are certain things that could even be better, or like the certain things that doesn't have to go back over and over again, waste people's time and money, you know.
Yeah, but it's again, it's part of the process, and there's so many things you have to think about. Like, you know, when we're shooting, you're dealing with the actors and the schedule and the light and the, you know. So I mean, that's also why we're here, just to try and help you and guide you. But this is a super complicated movie, and I think, you know, the process is what it is, and it turned out pretty good.
Like those shots, you know, we were on location, right? And it was magic hour, beautiful. And then we have to add all these lava and volcanoes, and then you have to have the atmos to justify the lava, and then that has to also make sure the depth of the shot is still there from how we initially shot it. You know, there's a lot of discussion. It wasn't just like, here's a visual effects shot, done. Every shot went back and forth multiple times to try to find that middle ground.
Because we just needed to find the right balance between everything, you know. It's a long process.
This cave scene is, yeah, you guys definitely did wonders here, because there's nothing, there's just, you know, we were on the stage in the cave, and we did, the actors did their moves, which was great, but a lot of discussion about how lighting and lava and crow, how is that gonna come together? It's not easy.
The density of the steam and, you know, even all the acting beats between Angie and Crow, and how these two kind of interact together took a bit of time to get right.
Yeah.
Bill Skarsgård was our Crow.
I don't think anyone knows this moment is him. He's awesome. Yeah. He really just showed up and embraced it.
Yeah.
And he had a great chemistry with Angie, which makes sense for Crow and Thena.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked very well between the two of them. Like that was really good. He was on set with us.
This moment, you know, I definitely credit Angie quite a bit for pushing for a non-conventional heroic moment. You know, I think she really didn't want to just like slice him to pieces in the traditional way, and we also knew that Crow, what he's saying is basically this moral dilemma we're talking about. You know, and so to have this moment between these two added a lot to the story, I thought.
It's one of the best sentences of the film. I think we're all tools of a god.
Built to kill.
Love that. Yeah.
And I loved how you guys had this energy going away. That this is Gilgamesh's energy, you know?
Yes.
This kind of subtle thing you can use visual effects to tell stories. And we're at the emergence.
Here we go. These are heavy visual effects shots, very complicated.
Please talk
when
about
I did all of that stuff. Oh, well, they're pretty much all digital, and they took months and months to... Well, we actually went pretty fast in terms of designing the camera moves and whatever the action was supposed to be in those, but once you approve the layout and all the animation, it took a lot of time to get these simulations to look right. And the scale, I mean, that was the biggest thing about the final sequence, is keeping the scale there always huge. It's a planetary event. So that's something you really wanted to have. I mean, like this kind of shot, that's one of the first one we saw fully rendered, and we were like, oh, that was gonna look good.
You couldn't tell.
We might be.
Yeah, you can't tell.
We might be onto something.
I find it's like the process has been so great in the sense like all I needed to do is stick figure drawings of the overall idea I have, and then some images, some pictures, and then I just text it to you, and then a couple of weeks later, magical things comes back to me.
Sometimes a bit longer than 2 weeks.
Yes. Sometimes yes. In 2 weeks I'll be like, hello? Do you have anything you want to say to me? Yeah, no, it's really, there were some moments where I, like, first time seeing these shots in visual effects review, couldn't quite believe how, I mean, there are shots that are hard, like this one, for example.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned is like shooting stuff inside the studio and then try to match, to put the actors in the outside. That's tough. Yeah.
It's rough, yeah. But there was a lot of reasons why we went into a studio at that point. Because, you know, there's stuff we couldn't shoot on the island anyways.
Yeah.
We had a limited amount of time there. We couldn't use cranes to do stunts in Lanzarote because we were on top of a volcanic floor that could crumble at any time. So there was lots of complications. But it turned out pretty good.
I think so.
Again, establishing the scale of Tiamat coming out, and
tough,
you were adamant about it needs to look like golden nugget, like gold.
But it's
gold.
tough to do scale with the gold, right?
It is. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the marble, is it marble? Is it snow?
It's limestone now.
Yes.
And again, we are in this situation where we have two people who is standing on top of a celestial palm coming out of the ocean, high in the atmosphere, right? So when it turned, whether it's gold or whether it's stone, we don't know what that's going to look like. There's no reference.
No.
We're really shooting arrows in the dark here. So we did the best we can. And, what's most important was the emotions of these actors, and that was more important for us. So to give them enough opportunity to do takes on a stage, as opposed to rushing them outside. That's more important to us in that moment.
The love montage. Beautiful music. I love that music.
So Ramin, I should talk about Ramin for a second. He really, went out of his way. He's so passionate about this, and this choir. And during the pandemic, it was tough to record choir because people had to stay away from each other. So you don't have, and so he just re-recorded it in the last minute. He's like, we gotta get it right, and it's this theme. It's a theme of love, right? That repeats throughout the film. We call it Across the Oceans of Time. And he was inspired by the oldest love song ever written, the Sumerian love song. And then he sort of made up the tone and the voice. And to play this at the climax of the action sequence of killing a god is, that complicated feeling of death and birth and love and kill. And it just, I think his music is brilliant here. And whatever you did here is insane.
Well, it all works together. And again, keeping the sense of scale and ending up at, these shots really high up in the sky and almost on the edge of the atmosphere. And you see, Tiamat finally getting transformed into marble by a superpowered Circe. Trying to keep all of that, as natural as possible, but crazy.
Next two shots are probably two of my favorite shots in the film. These, look at
this one started really bad. Remember the first version? I was like, oh my god, this is never gonna fly.
The seagull. So I showed this film in IMAX to someone 2 days ago, and who's seen the film before, and he said, oh my god, I cried when I heard the sound of the seagull. It's like life is back again, And I think those details. Those CG seagulls were a hit.
Yeah, that's good. Always use a seagull when in doubt. Put a seagull somewhere.
That's right.
And a bird.
That's what. Didn't that happen in Thor as well?
Oh, it happens everywhere. And put a bird in a big white shot that will sell it.
What was the seagull story in Thor that you keep telling me about? It was you had to make the bird. Yes, the bird has to do something. I forgot. What was it?
Oh, that was not a seagull. It was a swan.
A swan,
The Mjolnir was falling next to the swan, and we had to react, and we couldn't get the swan to react. We spent a day on, just on the edge of that little lake, and the swan was the most terrible actor you could ever work with.
Should have CG'd that swan.
Yeah. I think they might have ended up CGing it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is also a scene, we had no idea what that situation is going to look like. We knew it was going to be very bright.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is This is a really difficult scene for me to not shoot, but to even in the visual effects review, I cry every time when that last shot of Icarus flying to the sun, you know. It's a beautiful, beautiful ending for this character, but boy, it's tough because you made it so realistic. You know, the way that this shot and this shot, it feels, yeah, it breaks my heart.
It's Icarus going to the sun.
I know, boy,
too close to the sun.
Too close to the sun. So
there you go.
I want to say that this was one of the moments. This day was one of the moments. What made me want to make movies is that we have this big scene happening, and we've decided, you know what, we're gonna shoot at magic hour on a beach. As you know, on the beach, magic hour is short, because you're on the horizon. It's going down. It's going down, and that just happened to be a day, and all the actors like running, having a hairbrush thrown to them. They quickly brush their hair and throw it back. You know, like it's just everyone was on the same page, and that happened to be one of the craziest colored sunset I've never ever seen. It was something happened because on the beach you can never predict how a sunset is going to look like until the last second, and the way the mist and the reflection into the clouds, and everyone was taking pictures with their phone.
Yes.
Because it doesn't look, and then when I was doing like DI, I keep saying to Joe and you guys, I was like, this doesn't look real. It looks too fantastic. I was like, yeah, but it was real.
It was real. It was totally real. Yeah, it was one of our craziest moments.
Yeah, look at that in the back.
God, we got.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we got all that to do in the next 30 minutes.
Exactly. And I remember our AD, we got like Simon, like, Chloe, we're shooting, right? Like, no, good. I agree. And you know, he was so supportive, but I can tell he's like, there's 35 minutes left.
That's right.
But again, props to the cast. Everyone got one take. You know, everyone literally had one take. And then when it was over, I just felt that sunset was given to us by something so much bigger, because we ventured out, like human beings do, into the wilderness for on the search, on a quest. Because we remained vulnerable and open, and we took the risk. Something was we were beaten a lot, you know, along the way.
Yes.
But this was given to us, you know, so...
That's the gift.
That's the gift, and I'm not a religious person, so where do I get my high, you know, here, like that moment. Look at the light, I mean, that's a real sunset on touch, you know?
Yeah, nothing's changed there except for a celestial that's just popping out of the crust.
And
But it is the real photography there, for sure. That's where the run-in was useful there, because we could really go really fast.
Really fast, yeah. And Josh, you know, who operated for me on my previous films, knows in those moments. Also, like thinking as an editor as well, he knows that when I go into the editing room with the editors, he's gonna give me that extra stuff, that movement that we can use.
Are you okay?
And then we're back in the real world. Oh, so in IMAX, by the way, that entire beach fight sequence with the emergence in IMAX is a whole different experience.
Right.
The scale feels so much bigger.
What's your superpower?
Steph, this was your moment. Remember, you did this.
I know, I did that. The props guys were trying and it didn't work, and I went like, let me try it. And one take, Steph.
Yeah. Hey, like, cut. That's it. And you walked off.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, the details when the knife, then the moon sphere got out of the orange. There's like a little orange juice coming down.
Yeah, there is a bit of juice coming out of it.
Oh yeah, I also have a cameo, like Cersei's hand in the World Forge, and then when touching the replicant, and then Morton was the one that directed me.
That was a bit backwards day.
Yes.
Yeah, he was very tough as a director. It has been a really, you know, this watching and talking about it with you guys since you've been there since the beginning to the end. There are just so many people has contributed to like every frame I see, you know, tens of, hundreds of people like making these things happen is for someone to come from a small film and go into the real world and to capture whatever's free, you know, and then to look at that house in the back. How many people take to design it and build it and paint it, and you know, to see a shot of the costume they're wearing, and then to see a shot of the domo flying away right after this, and how many people it takes for that. You guys are used to it. For me, not so much. It's still incredible to feel I have the privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah, it certainly is a group effort in these films.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why you have to stay for the first post-credit and the second one, so you can listen to Rami's beautiful music, but also look at who had made this film happen. I always sit through the credits. It's always incredible to see the amount of people that worked on film like this.
I remember on one film I made, it was my last day, and we had finished, we were done, and the director told me, you know, Steph, movie making is a social art. It's all a lot of people with their different talents and their art coming together and pushing that story through, you know, and it couldn't be more true of all these films that we're making that have so many talents involved in so many different fields.
I do hope that our industry gets to just pay more attention to craft people, you know, like filmmaking. I think there's a lot of focus on, sometimes even just on the director, as opposed to like really spending more time celebrating craft, people behind the camera. Hampstead Heath. That was fun.
Yes.
It was nice. We had a break. We're a bit more refreshed coming back. And it was I was nervous, you know, because you were there. You look at the space. You go, how dramatic can this space be? I had to look at you and be like, Steph, this Arishem come to Earth. This better look. You're like, yeah, you look. Don't worry. I'm like, it's just a park. It's a park. It is a park.
It's a park.
On a sunny day at a park. Okay.
Yes.
And you're right. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. Yeah, we were lucky though with the light because where we shot these ones, we had nice light and everything, and then suddenly the clouds came up and it kind of played as the shadow of Arishem.
Well, we shot the cloud stuff first. Remember? Like when it was because the sun usually comes out later in London.
A little bit later.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we kind of navigated around the light as you always do when you're in a location.
We work really closely with Simon, the AD, because when you want to shoot this way, you have to schedule your day based on the weather. This was not. I think we got this pretty quick, right? Like this was pretty seamless.
Yeah. There was lots of discussion about the stuff that's grabbing her from the ground and taking her away, and we wanted to kind of echo something that we have seen earlier in the World Forge, holding the replicant down too.
Yeah, you can really see the details of Arishem, a finger in this. Yeah. And then we had in our final sound mix, it was you haven't seen this version, Steph. Like the film when Arishem's leaving, there used to be like a really loud music for a while because we changed the cut so many times. And then in our final mix, we all just kind of went, wait, the silence of the space is so powerful.
Yes.
So. And then we just silence here. So we made that decision in the 12th hour.
I just heard it. I know, I love that.
Yeah, and therefore it's going to be natural sound here as well.
Yes, it's like the black hole has, taken the sound out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had not heard that.
But that was so last because that's one of the last shots, right? That's one of the last shots you delivered to us, and then it's also one of the last big music decision and sound editing decision. So keep plussing until the last moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool beat. I saw it the first time when we were coloring.
Yeah.
Very late.
Your reaction was like, yes.
I was very excited about it.
Do we talk about the MOE? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Postcard. Yeah. So this is so proud of this. Like this was Method, right?
Method New
Did it.
York.
Yes, in New York. Yeah.
So one of the there was a book that I think we had Kevin. I think Kevin that gave it to us. It was the history of the world in 1,000 objects or something. And he was like, "Can you incorporate more in the movie?" And you know, we don't in the film not so much. So there was an opportunity for us. The film doesn't. I think more than you said, the film doesn't end here. It ends at the end of the MOE. You know, so you get to see how these characters influenced humanity.
Humanity, yeah. I love all these little snippets of like, oh my God, they were here all along.
Exactly. Yeah.
They were here and they have influenced so many civilizations and cultures. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
They did a great job with those shots. Beautiful.
It was a
Beautiful
lot of
detail
work. A lot of work.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think even they influenced the look of the movie. Remember, they did. They showed us the domo texture, and that kind of made us tweak our domo a little bit.
Yep.
Definitely.
It's the idea of like never really. I guess the word plus thing that I've learned. It does. You know, you have to know when to stop, but until you drag me out of the room. We're gonna keep going.
It's not gonna stop until it's being taken away from us.
Well, I think we wrapped today, right, Morten? Other than a little bit of IMAX home video fix, that's it. And we premiere on Monday, so it is down to the wire.
Yeah.
And we finished visual effects last week.
God. Yeah.
You know, the last few shots.
Finished DI today.
Yeah.
So
that feels good though.
I think so. I like this. I film school. The thesis film, they always hand it in like the last minute.
The last minute.
Yes. Well, speaking of last minute, like Pip the Troll, I mean, that was a big undertaking for you guys as well. Our
it was.
Post credit.
I mean, we're gonna get to that, but it was a nice little challenge at the last minute.
I sent Steph the script for this new post-credit scene, and he looked at it and he goes, "Pip the Troll, huh?" What month is this? When is the film coming out? I think back in the Canaries is when I first pitched the idea of Pip the Troll and Eros to Nate and Kevin. So then it just eventually evolved into this, and I think it's quite exciting.
Yes, I mean I remember you talking about it really quickly, but we had no idea where that would go, and then it did happen.
Can you talk about how you designed this portal?
Oh, the portal?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just like. That was another portal, and we were like, I'm not gonna do a circular portal. I'm fed up of, because I had worked on Doctor Strange and I've done many portals in my life as a visual effects supervisor, and was like, let's not do something we've done before. And so we looked around, and I thought about things, and I wanted something colorful, using kind of mirrors, and not mirror dimension style, but you know, playing around with the idea that he was coming out from that a bit disco place.
Yeah, totally.
But it was. I thought it was appropriate for Eros.
Yes.
With our big cameo guy now. And
Star Fox.
yeah, I mean it's that guy. Harry style.
Yeah, well, the Eros is, you know, it's God of love, so everything about this want to feel much more colorful and fun.
Yes, fun, exactly. And Patton is doing. It's doing Pip.
Well, what you did in Guardians, I remember, like, was so great, is that you always see the head of Rocket, you know, like in the shot, you always see his ears and stuff. And so this, you know, the way we were.
Yeah, when we looked at those, you know, whenever you have two characters that have a size difference like that, I think it's cool to keep a little bit of a snippet of the other character that's smaller.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more natural too, because you would shoot it this way.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of credits, oh man, you know, I can't wait. We're gonna premiere in London soon, so a lot of those folks are gonna be there. It'd be nice. I've heard rumors someone has seen it, and then there's been going around, and people are quite excited. So It'd be
Oh, good.
for the crew. Oh, there's Martin. Hey.
Here comes Martin.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
Jill.
Jill, yes. It's a Eunice. It's so I can't. Sometimes it gives me anxiety when I look at this list. Like, oh my God, so many people worked on this film, and I hope I pass this off. I think about this all the time. You know, it's just so many people poured so much of their.
Like, that's our VFX department here. I mean, I love staying for credits and looking at all the names and thinking about how much of their craft and heart they've put into making this movie. And I mean, everybody was pretty great on the show, and they went through a lot. I mean, it's been really difficult going on location in these very remote locations, and sometimes just having to carry all the stuff there and working in the wind and the mud and the rain, and
it's not
so
easy.
they all did a lot, you know.
It's not easy,
and
but
in the end,
it shows up on screen. I mean, you can tell.
Plays.
It looks so great.
Yeah.
I think making films is not easy. You know, there seems to be a myth of like, it's fun and it is, but you're going sailing into uncharted waters with a group of people. A lot of them you don't even know. You know, and then you have a goal. You're looking for the dead man's chest, whatever you're looking for. You know, you're looking for something, and that quest. You know, if you don't get there, then it's all for nothing, right? So there's. I think I've learned a big time on this show that I think on my previous films that wasn't as big of a deal, is that I have to really figure out the balance, you know. How far do we push and how far do we have to compromise? And because it's not just 5 people that's moving with me, it's 5,000 people. Yeah. But I have to say, pretty incredible. I would say 90% of the time when we're on location, this is credit to Ben Davis and Simon Warnock and Kevin Delanoy and Nate and you know, everyone, is that they knew how I wanted to make the film, how the camera is going to move. We can't have people standing around. And majority of the people on set are either the AD's folks and the DP's folks. So they really set a culture with their department to always be offset, not bring the big machines in unless absolutely necessary. So many times I find myself shooting just with a small group of people. You know, one of you guys.
I think you made it. Yeah, you made it very clear from the beginning that was the way you wanted to approach it, and I think everybody, even though they come from, you know, the culture of doing these big films, but some of them not. Like Ben has been doing a lot of smaller indie films, and he totally got it, you know. And we all wanted to make sure that you felt as, you know, as comfortable as possible with whoever was around you, and so that you could do your thing, you know. Sometimes it's
And Simon was ADing. He had experience ADing for Terry Malick as well. I think that was helpful. I know Lord of the Rings, which was very location. Location driven.
Yeah, and I had done other films with him where we were on location.
Oh yeah, what
too,
film did you guys do
pretty
together?
far away. I did Alexander. It was in Alexander.
I love Alexander.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
I didn't spend a lot of time on the set because I was mostly back in Paris at the time, but I did go there, and some of our team was there, and it was huge location work, you know, in Morocco and Thailand and all that stuff. So it's complicated, you know.
Simon and I talked a lot about Alexander. I have a very special.
I'm sure.
I'm not sure this is the place to talk about it. But I'm really, I mean, again, Nate Moore, you know, I don't talk about him enough. He was there every day, you know, from in the morning, first moment in the morning, last one at night, and really held my hands through it as well. And he's come from an indie film background as well, so I think he's very excited about locations and also Marvel, Kevin, Lou, Victoria, everyone, just in that pitch, when I pitched it to them, we talked so much about how we can make what I was pitching. That how is everything.
Yeah.
And they were on board since day one. You know, they're like, wind me up and let me go and gave me this incredible team and say, follow her. That's pretty crazy risk they took.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it feels like they've always been behind you in terms of,
yeah.
I mean, from my point of view and what I've seen, I felt like they were totally behind you, 100% throughout the journey, which,
If I wanted to just go crazy and fly, they let me. And if I suddenly lost my footing, they're there to catch me for sure.
They would catch you.
Oh yeah, many times. I mean, there are times I would text Victoria. I was like, "You have to. I need you now." And then even though it feels like she's giving me space, freedom, and there are times I'm like, "No, Mama, I need you." Yeah, it's been incredible. And then we're here. Ebony Blade. Who would have thought? I definitely geek out quite a bit, especially the voice that comes in the end. I thought
I think Martin's gonna spend a bit of time with that voice, I think.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
This is a cool post-credit scene. It's
Yeah.
Simple, but sets up so much.
Sets up so much. And I love this this effect they did on the sword as well. But did we use was it magnet, like sand magnet?
It was magnetic, ferrite or something like that I looked on. I remember we were talking about it, and I showed you that little YouTube video, and I thought that was very special and unique, and our friends from Rise in Germany did it. I think it's cool.
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
Yeah, the idea of a blood curse, how to show that.
Yes.
Eternals will return. Yay, Marvel Studios! Woo!
Studios!
We did it!
Yes.
Ah.